Basketball is on the radio. It's on 105.5 KD Country, and it's from Ringgold. Bob Alvis, Kyle Hoehne here, and Kyle, really like a de facto Dogwood District Championship game here tonight with Altavista and Dan River.
Yeah, Bob, this is the big one. You got to be excited for this one. I'm going to need a little more energy and enthusiasm out of you. It's a Subway pregame show. Right. That should always get you fired up. It's February now, so it's Febu-Any, $5 foot long, all month long. You can pretty much get anything on the menu for $5 this month, Bob, and then the few other things are only $6, so that's got to get you pumped up. Dan River, Altavista, the rematch, and like you said, it's basically a district title game. If Altavista wins, they clinch the Dogwood District regular season. If Dan River wins, well, then all of a sudden we've got some interesting possibilities, because the game tomorrow night in Altavista against Nelson would mean a whole lot. The Colonels would have to win that one, Bob.
Yeah, and, it should be a interesting tilt tonight, because I don't think you can definitely bank on seeing what you saw in the first matchup, which was almost golf low-scoring affair.
Yeah, low-scoring affair. The first time these two teams played, Altavista tried to slow it down intentionally, but Dan River slowed it down in a lot of respects as well. They didn't press any. They played half-court man-to-man defense all night for the most part. So a lot of that contributed to the low score, and we know how much both these two teams can play defense, so points are going to be hard to come by.
We talked about Altavista coming off a big win on Tuesday night when they played Appomattox, and they're doing senior night now, so we'll talk for a little bit before we give it to the Coach Carlero interview, but we talked about how big of a win Altavista had the other night. Well, so did Dan River when they played the Cavaliers from Chatham.
Dan River rang up a big number against one of their rivals, the Chatham Cavaliers, scoring over 90 points in that game. And you're right. I mean, Dan River lost just the one game to Altavista in the district earlier in the year. I want to say they're like 15-3 overall, maybe 14-3, something like that. Okay. I think you're right. One district loss, 3 non-district losses. But they've all been big for Dan River, because they've had to keep winning in order to keep pace with Altavista and set up this showdown and give themselves a chance to possibly get into a regular season tiebreaker next week. A lot of importance in this game tonight.
If there is a regular season tiebreaker to determine the district championship, that would be next Friday night. And then that would push the district tournament back Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If there is no tiebreaker next Friday, it would be Tuesday, Friday for the district tournament. And Altavista obviously would not have to worry about Friday if they're so lucky to get the district title.
Yeah, regular season district winner gets a bye for that first round game in the district tournament. So, again, a lot of importance in this game tonight. The schedule will have to remain to be determined until this one finishes up tonight. Then we'll be able to tell you definitively what the schedule for the postseason is going to be.
Well, we can tell you Altavista's got a game tomorrow night, too, which you can hear on 105.5 KD Country. It'll be their senior night when Nelson County comes to town. Dan River has Gretna next week in a district affair.
And that's no gimme either.
No, absolutely not. Altavista could have Randolph Henry next week, depending on a few things down there in Charlotte Courthouse on Wednesday. But the one I think Mike Carlero is worried about is right here, right now.
Yeah, and I think everybody, Altavista fans, Altavista players, me and yourself, I think everybody's focused on this one here tonight. If you could get out of Ringgold with a big victory, that would assure you the Dogwood District regular season title. That would be huge, plus just the momentum of beating a very solid basketball team like Dan River.
Yeah, and I don't know if I mean, to me, this does not necessarily have the feel of an Altavista Gretna old school game. But talk to me once the game has started, too. You know, I mean, the place could get rocking and hopping. I would say this place is pretty doggone near full right now.
I'd say 95% capacity. There's still some cracks and crevices that could be filled in and some standing room that could be taken over. But I have a feeling by the time we get to game time, which is still about 20 minutes away, I think this place will be at 100% capacity. And we may have a few more listeners, Bob, because some people might get turned away at the door. We don't mind, and I'm sure the folks at Subway don't mind. 2 great locations in Altavista, Main Street, and also the Clarion Road Walmart in Altavista. It is the Subway pregame show.
Oscar Briggs helping us out tonight, too. JVs from Dan River picked up a victory in the JV game, and Oscar Briggs kind of saved us a little bit too, as somebody from Altavista came and jumped on the table. We're right back in the corner here where our normal customary spot is at Dan River. If you walk in the gym straight down the baseline, there we are at the end of the Altavista bench, and it's going to be standing room for us tonight too, Kyle, because if we sit down, we won't be able to see a thing.
Right, courtside would be a way to describe our location, but that's probably an understatement because we're only about a foot away from the court. So close proximity here at Dan River for us, close proximity for the players, and I have a feeling that the fans are going to get much more than their money's worth tonight.
Subway pregame show, Dan River and Altavista getting ready to get underway. Of course, the ladies are taking place at Altavista tonight, and
ladies have clinched their Dogwood District title, Bob. Just one game to go for them tonight.
Also, it's senior night for them, too. So Ryan Hedgepath, Kayla Lee, Erica Wilson, and Piquera TT Dews are playing their last regular season tilt. So if you're at home, get out to that game and support the Lady Colonels. Take your headphones with you. I mean, that's
absolutely.
Not
you catch two games at once. Right. You get to listen to us, watch them. That's the way to go right there. And definitely congratulations to the Lady Colonels. We're looking forward to district and regional tournament time when we can get back with them on the airwaves too.
On the other side of this break here on the Subway pregame show, you'll hear from the head honcho of the Colonels, Mr. Mike Cardellaro, right after this timeout on 105.5 KD Country.
For more than 103 years, we've offered special banking assistance to many nonprofit organizations. I'm Kathy Morgan with First National Bank, and we have a checking account just for nonprofits and faith-based organizations that has no minimum balance requirement and no monthly maintenance fee. We also specialize in offering financing when your group needs a loan. So come see us at First National Bank, and we'll provide your organization with an extraordinary customer experience. First National Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
In the past century, our community has grown, and Finch & Finch Funeral and Cremation Service has grown too, alongside the families they've known for so long. Finch & Finch is proud to have served you over 100 years. A family business, Finch & Finch Funeral and Cremation Service, dedicated to your service.
Finch & Finch Funeral Homes. We're here because we care.
You're listening to award-winning coverage of the Altavista Colonels on 105.5 KD Country.
Altavista and Dan River match up in what could be the Dogwood District Championship game on the line. Altavista's got to win for that to really happen for the Colonels. Mike Cardellaro joins me. Before we look ahead to the Wildcats, let's look back at the Appomattox Raiders. Kyle and I do player of the game after every game. It was hard to narrow it down to one guy because so many people played well, and even people that normally don't get major minutes came off the bench, I thought. And, I didn't see any drop-off, really. What did you see from your vantage point?
Well, a few blocks. Canavis Jones-Navy has been with us a couple games, and he's gotten comfortable playing. Michi's back, which certainly adds a lot. And then Dylan Allen's back, who had a meniscus tear from the very beginning of the season. So he's been waiting and finally got back into the flow. So we added some bodies, and we're trying to play more people. And the game just kind of dictated what happened, and we got a little flow going, got a rhythm not only on the floor, but we had a rhythm subbing, and just kind of grew from that point. And we got great effort from just about everybody that was out there. So it was a real good team effort.
Yeah, and it seems like because I remember, and I think it was late in the first quarter, Josh Walker sinks 2 threes right back to back, and it seems like a lot of people are just getting 2 and 3 plays strung together, and it's not always the same guy, which to me is a good problem to have when 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 people are quote unquote hot for a minute, even if it's just a minute.
And that's true, and you want people to be able to contribute, and you don't have to depend on the same people, especially as we get closer to tournament time. We're playing different styles, different plays. Key players might be in foul trouble. The perimeter game's not working, post game's not working, and you add all that stuff up, and if you don't have more than one thing to offer, what you're doing on the floor, and more than 5 bodies to offer, you could run into a roadblock and be done. So for that reason, we think that it's going to be advantageous for us as we get into tournament.
Dan River, it's a trip to Ringgold, which is always eventful. What do you expect out of the Wildcats?
Well, they're on home floor. It's senior night. Those are big issues for us, obviously. We beat them the first time around and controlled the tempo, and we certainly know that they've talked about that, and they're going to make some changes and adjustments. We know that that's coming. They're tough to beat there, but hey, last year we played them pretty tough down there. Lost. Actually, we had the ball, went down 3 with less than a minute to go, and it got away from us. And we beat them down there 2 years ago in the tournament championship. So I just kind of found a way to rise to the occasion. Now, with that being said, this is a new group doing it, and we're certainly not going to sneak up on them because we beat them the first time. We think we'll see their best game, and we'll have to respond. It's one of those things you feel like try to tell the kids it's kind of like a Duke crowd, and you got to be up for that, and you got to be up for the challenge, and you got to be mentally tough enough to hang in there and battle through mistakes, keep your composure, and that'd be a big test for us. I think it's going to help us certainly as we get into tournament play.
You talk about mental toughness, and I think you have a great group of thoroughbreds. So does Dan River. How mentally tough does your group have to be to slow it down?
Well, it's tougher to do that, but Bob, if they come after us, we're not going to slow it down. Mm-hmm. We're going to go. And everybody thinks that, hey, they're going to play a half-court game, and we can change speeds. And I think people can see that because Appomattox pretty fast and quick in their own way, and we got up and down the floor there. So I like to think that we're versatile enough that if somebody's coming after us, we're going to go at the rim hard. And if we've got an opportunity and we feel like we need to control the tempo, then we'll do that. And teams that can go fast and go slow, it makes a big difference. And we're trying to prepare for having to do that tonight with Dan River.
Before we get into shout-outs, one more thing, kind of touching on the Appomattox game and the Dan River game. I don't know if there's such a thing as playing too well, but you guys played great against Appomattox on Tuesday. Does it worry you playing almost mistake-free basketball, and the next game you're like, man, we might not have all those breaks or all those luxuries?
Well, sure, but you want your kids playing their best basketball at this time of the year, and you want depth, and you want excitement and energy out there. And every game's different. Tonight's game may be completely different, but when those things occur, it's in the memory bank that we've done that before. So, if tonight's not a real good night for us, or it's not close to that, we know that we've done that before, so you want to quickly try to get back to that. So, we had a real good effort Tuesday night, and we're not going to try to duplicate the game. We're going to duplicate the effort. Every game's different, and the opponents are different. So we just want to duplicate the hard play and getting out and being up for the challenge on the road, in a tough place to play. We just really think that this is going to help us down the road, and we're one game up on them. So the pressure's on them really to be on their home floor, and we'll play it and see what happens.
Every game may be different, but shout-outs, they normally stay the same. What do you have for me on a Friday from Ringgold?
We may have added one or two anyhow. For a good big Colonel shout-out on a Friday night, as always, to my father and Dottie, and several friends that listen in Buena Vista. They don't want their names mentioned, so I'll leave that alone.
Is it the BV Mafia or something?
No, I didn't say that at all. Not at all. They just listen in. So, just leave it at that. Me and Billy is continuing to recover, and he is hanging in there, and we're certainly saying our prayers and hoping he continues to progress. Mike, Heather, McKinley, and Miranda, and little brother, who's going to be here sometime soon. Ashley's at the game tonight, so she made the trip down from Harrisonburg. Hopefully Nick's listening in at JMU. Aunt Fran in Philadelphia, Ann and Chris in Maryland, Sarah in Swanson always, our neighbors, and Kathy and Harriet Dotson, who comes to our home games. Certainly big Colonel fans, but they couldn't make it down to Ringgold, so we know they're listening in. Hello to all the Colonel fans.
More pressure on Kyle and I. That worries me. But, Coach, definitely hope you guys can get one out, and then we'll talk to you on a very quick turnaround before the Governors come in on your senior night on Saturday.
Sounds great. Thanks, Bob.
Mike Cardellaro on the Subway pregame show. More on the other side right after this on 105.5 KD Country.
Try a variety of daily lunch specials priced under $4 at El Cazador Restaurant. The people that brought the first Mexican food to the area 13 years ago and still going strong 7 days a week. Come by for Mexican or American food, all reasonably priced, with drink specials and great service too. Voted best Mexican restaurant by you, their customers, El Cazador Mexican Restaurant, Main Street in Altavista. El Cazador Mexican Restaurant thanks you for your loyalty and your business.
A short drive will save you money.
That's right. A short drive can save you hundreds, maybe thousands. The absolute best selection of new and pre-owned vehicles to choose from. Have a trade? When you make a deal, Feller Chevrolet will pay it off, no matter how much you owe. Slow credit? Don't worry. Drive away today in your new or pre-owned vehicle. Remember, if you didn't purchase your vehicle from Feller Chevrolet, you paid too much for it.
Feller Chevrolet in Altavista.
You're listening to award-winning coverage of the Altavista Colonels on 105.5 KD Country.
Bob Alvis, Kyle Hoehne back here from Ringgold. The teams are shooting now, so it's getting a little bit more action-packed. Kyle, let's break down Altavista here real quick. I think Altavista, no secret, if they can get some room and if they can get some space, they'll kill you from the outside. They have that capability for certain. Dan River, I don't know if they're going to zone them up per se.
Well, they played half-court man-to-man the first matchup primarily the entire game. They went to a zone a little bit later on when they were trying to get some steals. You've definitely got to be careful with Altavista's long-range shooters, and it's like I said at Appomattox, Bob. Altavista can beat you from long range. They can hit the mid-range jumper, or they can drive to the basket or throw it in the post to one of the Johnsons, so they can attack you from all over the basketball court, and that's very tough to stop because it's hard to take away everything. Some people, you can only take away one thing. With Altavista, really tough to stop all three of those.
We've seen Dan River once this year, obviously, when they played Altavista, and, I don't know that there was a big difference in terms of what Coach Murphy does as to what Coach Cruz did. I didn't really see, a wacky, summer to winter change.
Yeah, system's pretty much the same down here at Dan River. And, Coach Murphy has been involved for a long time as well, so it's not like he was new in town. He and Coach Cruz were always on the same page, so you got to think they're going to stay and continue to do the same things, maybe with a new wrinkle here or there. But no doubt a very, very good Dan River Wildcat team that is a handful for everybody all the time.
The one thing I would say about Dan River is I don't know if they're as long as they have been in years past.
But they're not small.
No, they're not small.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, Paul Stone was a big guy out front. Darren White was a big guy up top. I should say more so than out front. But in the backcourt, those were some big guys that could drop out and give matchup problems. And maybe it's Altavista's height it up, so to speak. I mean, Altavista can go with you across the board too. They're not a small group themselves.
Yeah, very, very true. I mean, Altavista was a little on the shorter side in years past. This year, you're right. It seems like they've grown up a little bit. Both the Johnsons have got some size. Juan Thornhill is a very good size guard. Josh Walker, has got size, and he can play inside and outside. So definitely Altavista has the ability to match people size-wise a little bit more now. Dan River does have a 6'6" guy in Tyleek Edmonds, couple 6'4", 6'3". So maybe Dan River's got a slight height advantage, but not something that you can look at on paper and go, oh gosh, they've got to make up this height disadvantage. It's pretty much even keel.
And the other thing too is the quickness that Altavista has up front. I mean, in terms of Michi and Navy per se, those are some real quick guys, and you see him 1 second, you see him down the floor the next.
Yeah, the man you're alluding to is Kenavis Jones, of course, who only played 2 varsity games, but you're already calling him by his nickname.
Sorry, I get caught up in the lingo.
It's like he's been here his entire life or something, giving him the Navy nickname there. But no, you're right, definitely very quick. And Juan Thornhill is quick too, even for his size. So definitely Altavista has speed. They have enough size. And you can say those same things about Dan River as well. I mean, they're quick too.
Yeah, sometimes when I talk to the coaching staff and they're like, Navy or I'm like, who? So I'm not really used to it yet, but I am used to good basketball, and I firmly expect to see that tonight. We'll take another timeout, come back with more here on the Subway pregame show. Altavista and Dan River live from Ringgold right here on 105.5 KD Country.
Check out these new in-store specials at your local Apple Market. Energize with 2 12-ounce Red Bulls for just $5. Or grab an extra large bag of Doritos for just $3.49 and a 24-pack of Coke only $6.99. Or enjoy a tasty chicken tender sandwich for just $2.49 at Riverside or Main Street and Gretna Apple Market locations. Visit the Apple Market's convenience stores soon.
English Construction Company has been in the building business since 1932, so it's only natural that they appreciate the building process. They recognize the fact that organized sports programs build character as well as bodies and minds. They know that high school sports build our youth into more well-rounded and more productive adults. English Construction Company is proud to be a sponsor of high school sports and salute all athletes, coaches, and teachers. A word of praise and encouragement from English Construction Company with offices in Lynchburg, Virginia.
You're listening to award-winning coverage of the Altavista Colonels on 105.5 KD Country.
Bob and Kyle back here from Dan River, and before we move on, let's give a shout out to Miss Woodward and Officer Crump and all the people here at Dan River who, you know, I kind of say this all the time, but really everywhere we go now, I feel like it's a home away from home just because we get treated great. I'm not sure why, but we do.
Well, you're absolutely right, and we got to mention Mr. Darrell Wilkerson, too, who handles a lot of the technology stuff for Pittsylvania County. Anytime we go to Chatham, Gretna, or Dan River, he's a key cog in our wheel making this production happen, and we hope it sounds great on your end, and we'll do the best we can to try and make everybody happy, but definitely great hospitality as always here at Dan River.
And hey, if you got a friend that doesn't know the game is on tonight, give them a call. If you got a friend in another state, guess what? You got the internet at kdcountry.com. So give them a call, and, you know, even if they're in another country.
Exactly.
The internet, you might not have it in China.
I know.
But it works the other place.
A guy from Australia emailed Bob, said he listens to the station. I don't know how he found the station, but he listens to it.
Good day.
Good day.
Yeah. So Altavista looking for a good day, and really it's been a good season for the Colonels. I mean, they've started off, and, you know, the thing I'm really interested in seeing is how's this group going to handle adversity, because so far, not a ton of it.
You're right. I mean, outside of the Dan River game at home, the Brookville game at home was very close. Not a ton of close games. I mean, now there's been a bunch of games that have been close for 3 quarters, and then Altavista's pulled away. Colonels are undefeated on the season at 15-0. 10-0 in the Dogwood District. Is that right? Yes, I believe that's right. 2 games left. So this one tonight and then the one against Nelson tomorrow. So it's been a fantastic year, and I think it's been a little bit of a surprising year for me and you, Bob, and others, in the fact that, you know, we knew the Colonels were going to be good, but did we know they were going to be this good?
Well, and keep in mind, too, Kyle, I mean, this is a team that is loaded with guys who are not fourth years. I mean, they're loaded with sophomores and juniors. And I think people, you know, probably even that, you know, are like me and look into the crystal ball a little bit farther down the road. They're like, wow, these guys are only going to get better and better. You can't count on that in terms of, you know, I mean, I think obviously Mike Carlero is more a live-for-the-moment guy, too, in terms of, hey, I want to win now. I want to win this year. I mean, next year would be great, too. But, hey, let's get something going right now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I don't think this is a team that's playing for the future. This team knows how good they are right now. They got a great combination of youth and experience. Got some seniors to go with those young guys, the super sophomores, and they're ready to go this year. I mean, they're trying to make it happen this year. And, again, it's kind of like the football team was in the fact that, you know, Coach Sharness knew he was going to have a great group of players. But did he know they're going to be that good? No, I don't think a coach ever knows how good they're going to be. You can just sort of, like you said, look into that crystal ball a little bit. Sometimes it's cloudier than others when you look in there. But this has really developed into a great team. And, you know, I can't stress it enough, a team that's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, get out and see them if you haven't. I would also say that, you know, Mark Hanks and I talked about this when that Gretna team went there and beat Pulaski, which was a very good basketball team. But Gretna had Hall and Hubbard, and as Coach Hanks puts it, those guys that were used to those Friday night lights, and they didn't really scare when they got in big games. I know Juan and Darius and, you know, several others who have played football.
Yes.
They've had some big moments. You know, I mean, the bright lights have shown on Friday night at English Stadium and other places as well that have been big games.
Yeah, and even if it's not the same sport, it still gives you confidence.
A big game's a big game.
Exactly. It gives you confidence. Hey, I've played in front of a big crowd. I've made plays when it matters. And, I think something that Coach Cardellaro has always stressed, Colonels aren't going to back down from anybody. They're not going to be intimidated by any situation. And make no mistake about it, when you come down to Dan River, the big crowd, not that the crowd is hostile or anything or angry, but it's just a lot of people, and they make a lot of noise, and that can be a little bit intimidating. Whether you're a basketball player or you're singing the national anthem or something like that.
We'll talk about the Pennsylvania County schools we know here real quick. Dan River, Chatham, Gretna, all the gyms are laid out pretty much identical.
Yeah.
What makes Dan River different, in your opinion?
It might be the crowd. I think this crowd is used to seeing a very good basketball team for the last 6 years. The crowd is hungry. The crowd wants to see a win. And that's not to say Chatham and Gretna haven't had their successes over the past years, but you look at the banners on the wall. I mean, four state tournament appearances in the last 4 years for the Dan River Wildcats.
Pretty good.
Exactly. This crowd knows good basketball. They've been seeing it for the past 4, 5, 6 years, and they want to see wins every time they come to the gym.
I think the one difference with Dan River now as opposed to those past few years, they don't really have that, what I would call, go-to guy. And I mean that respectfully because, Trey Edmonds was a guy that was going to take a big shot. Paul Stone would take some big shots. Darren White would take some big shots. Fabian Robertson would take some big shots. I mean, they had some guys that would take some big shots. I think this Dan River cast is almost kind of a no-name team. And I mean that respectfully because I don't think they don't have that one, superstar. The world revolves around him. And I think it maybe even makes them tougher.
Yeah, it might make you more dangerous because you're balanced. You play more together as a team. You share the basketball a little bit more. Kind of like Altavista. They don't care who gets the points. They just want to get the W. And maybe you're right. This version of Dan River, 2012, 2013, maybe a little bit more well-rounded. And you never know quite who to stop. You never know who's going to take the big shot.
If you're Coach Murphy or Coach Cardellaro, are you worried that you came off too good of a win in your last meeting with their respective opponents?
Well, maybe that was in the back of your mind when you went to sleep last night, but I think right now you're not worried about that at all. You're just ready to get it on. You're ready to tee it up and ring the bell for round 2. Round 1 was in Altavista, and the Colonels got the 2-point victory. Again, that's a game that could have gone either way. You're talking about a 2-point margin. That's a toss-up game.
Could be a 4-round fight, too. You never know.
That's exactly right.
When we come back, we will have the starting lineups, we will have tip-off, and we'll have some good basketball. It's Ringgold, Virginia, the Dan River Wildcats hosting the Altavista Colonels. First place on the line in the Dogwood, and it'll be back right after this timeout on your home for Altavista High School Athletics, 105.5 KD Country.
Installing Atrium vinyl replacement windows is like an investment in your home that can begin to pay dividends right away. You can save up to 30% or more on your home's heating and cooling costs. Add to your home's equity and add to its value by upgrading its looks and energy efficiency. Custom crafted Atrium vinyl replacement windows. Invest in your home's future with English's.
English's is your complete home center.
Business 29 Altavista.
Have you looked at your business banking fees lately? I'm Sean Stone with First National Bank, and we have the best business accounts which offer serious savings for your company. We have a full menu of business products from checking accounts and remote deposit capture to online banking. And we have a local merchant card representative who will customize services just for your business. So let First National Bank prepare an analysis of your current activity and show how we will reduce your banking fees. First National Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
In the past century, our community has grown, and Finch & Finch Funeral and Cremation Service has grown too, alongside the families they've known for so long. Finch & Finch is proud to have served you over 100 years. A family business, Finch & Finch Funeral and Cremation Service, dedicated to your service.
Finch & Finch Funeral Homes. We're here because we care.
Sunday nights on Real Country, it's all about the roots of country music. Roots that run deep in between the Nashville streets of Broadway and Church. Opry legends like Marty Robbins, Patsy Cline. Iconic classics from the artists who define country music and paved the streets of Broadway and Church in country gold. Join us Sunday nights from 8 to 1 for a journey back in time to the legendary Broadway and Church on 105.5 KD Country.
You're listening to award-winning coverage of the Altavista Colonels on 105.5 KD Country.
Bob Alvis, Kyle Hoehne back here from Dan River High School, and I'll tell you, KH, the crowd right on top of everybody here, and they'll even walk across everybody also.
Yeah, you can get to know somebody very easily here tonight in this crowd because it is tight. It's like a shoebox in here. Doesn't smell that bad though. It smells great, but it's going to get cozy in here and it's going to get warm. That's probably good because it's cold outside, Bob.
Yeah, it's not the warmest night that I've experienced in my life, Kyle. Some good starting lineups tonight. Wildcats going to go with their 5 seniors.
Yeah, it is senior night, and that may be the group they were going to go with anyway. You're going to go see number 12, senior D. McMoore, number 24, senior Tyrone Adams, number 30, senior Tyquan Adams, number 42, Raekwon Robertson, and number 44, Bayshawn Jones. Jones had a very good game there up at Altavista about a month ago, Bob. For the Colonels, the visitors tonight, they're going to start a few of their super sophomores. Number 2, Juan Thornhill. Number 10, Darius Johnson. Then they'll go with a junior, number 12, Richard Hubbard, and 2 seniors of their own, number 24, Eric Poindexter, and number 30, Jake the Snake, Jake McClure.
And it's a fun one tonight, Kyle, and hopefully we got a big listening audience, and if so, there's some people you have to thank also.
Absolutely. We got to thank our sponsors. It wouldn't be possible without them. The First National Bank, focused on providing an extraordinary customer experience. Apple Markets. Check out the weekly specials at all 3 Altavista area locations. Finch & Finch Funeral and Cremation Services, a family serving families since 1905. English Construction Company, wishing our high school athletes an exciting and injury-free game. Keller Chevrolet, where a short drive will save you money. If you watch it on YouTube or listen to it on YouTube after the fact, you can thank them for that. El Cazador Mexican Restaurant, voted best Mexican restaurant by their customers. And English's, your complete home center. See them for Atrium Vinyl Windows, of course, streaming online at kdcountry.com. Brought to you by the fine folks at Walmart on the Clarion Road. Save money, live better, Walmart. One additional shout-out, Bob. Coach Cartalero's wife wanted us to say hey to Glenn and Linda Miller, longtime listeners in Altavista. And I'm big Colonel fans.
Well, and
they're big fans of you.
I didn't know those people existed. I'm also supposed to give Coach Ward's dad a happy birthday shout-out tonight. So, Mr. Ward, hope you are having a great birthday. Have a piece of cake for me, too. Just get one extra in there.
There you go.
Full house tonight. I mean, yeah, aces over what? I mean, there are a ton of people in this gymnasium.
Standing room only definitely is correct here tonight. We're about set for the tip-off.
Tip is going to go to Altavista, dressed in the road orange, black striping down the side. The A is on the bottom of the left leg. Dan River in the home white, blue numerals or gray numerals on the side outlined in blue. And right away, Colonels are going to go to the free throw line. That foul is going to go against Raekwon Robertson, I believe. And I'm not sure if Dan River was one of those places, and it was not, where they do not throw the number up on the board, Hoehne. So
we'll have to keep track of that. Robertson picks up his first one for Dan River. First free throw is no good from Juan Thornhill. Colonels get the tip early, and then Thornhill attacking the basket with his speed and the dribble. Excellent way to start the first half. Just got to cash in on the points.
Second shot is up and in, 1-0. Altavista leads 9 seconds into this one. Dan River with the basketball. D. McMoore has it. Up top. McMoore swings it over to Bayshawn Jones. Jones drives baseline, comes all the way down. Darius Johnson blocked him from behind. Johnson gets rid of it quickly to Thornhill. Thornhill looks to head upstream. No real pressure from Dan River in the backcourt. Off of Poindexter's hands, but McClure is there and he's trapped. Gets it back out to Hubbard. Down to Johnson in the post. Johnson turnaround shot, won't fall down. Rattles in, rattles out. Rebounded by Dan River. Robertson gives it up to McMoore. McMoore will push. Free throw line extended. Now takes it inside the paint, looking for somebody to pass back to, and it's Bayshawn Jones. Jones drives in, the kick out. And that's Tyquan Adams with the basketball. Adams guarded by McClure. McClure all over him. Adams gives it up to McMoore. The defensive effort for Altavista so far has been very stingy. McMoore over to Jones. Jones guarded by Thornhill. Juan keeps it. Jones between him and the basket. Johnson again from the backside with the block.
2 blocks on 2 consecutive possessions for Darius Johnson. Great job helping out. Wasn't even his guy, but he slid off of his man and played to help defense, got the block.
Darius is so long you can almost help from the 3-point line to lane. Thornhill, long 2, won't fall down. Rebounded by Darius Johnson, and Johnson sticks a short one in, and it's 3-0 Altavista.
How about the Darius Johnson show so far, Bob? Couple blocks, an offensive rebound, puts it back, gets 2 points, 3-0 lead early for the Colonels.
Adams with the ball as Tyrone Adams shot up, no good. Rebounded Richard Hubbard. I don't know if Dan River's firing too quick or just not accurate enough. Thornhill with the basketball, gets to the free throw line, all the way in, took some contact, no call. Darius Johnson with the rebound, takes it up, and he'll have 2. Well, foul is going to go against number 30, Tyquan Adams. That's his first.
Yeah, I don't know that Dan River's necessarily taking bad shots. I mean, that was a good look for 3 that they had. It just didn't go in. I think Altavista's defense is stingy. You said it, and you're definitely correct. First free throw up and good from Darius Johnson. Bob, first quarter brought to you by Apple Markets of Altavista, Main Street, Gateway, and the Riverside Apple Markets. There's always one nearby.
Colonels have 5. Dan River yet to get a number on the board. 6:06 to go here in quarter number 1. And Darius has 4 of the 5 so far for Altavista.
Yeah, and doing a number defensively as well.
Tyrone Adams looking for somewhere to go. He's guarded by Hubbard up top. Adams still trying to shake Richard Hubbard. Adams gets it all the way in. Adams puts it up. No good. Rebounded by Hubbard over to Thornhill. Thornhill over to Poindexter, left side. Eric thought about passing back to Juan. Instead goes to Johnson. Hot hand, misses one, gets his own rebound, takes it up. And they're going to call that a jump ball. Yep. And the possession arrow reads white. And Dan River will check in their first sub of the game. Terrell Edmonds comes in. So Kenny Murphy carrying on the tradition of senior night, starting the 5 seniors.
Yep. Basketball going back to Dan River. After Darius got blocked, he came straight down. That's why the jump ball call that you referred to. 5:22 remaining.
McMoore crosses over. McMoore is going to be fouled up top. I think that foul went against Eric Poindexter. His first. Team's first. Josh Walker checks in for the aforementioned Poindexter. And, you know, I mean, when I said Coach Murphy starting the 5 Dan River seniors, I don't think it was really, you know, necessarily token starts.
No, I don't think it was a drop-off at all.
Right. McMoore, nice pass, gets it inside. Stuck up and in by Tyquan Adams, and Dan River breaks the ice with 5:12 to go in quarter 1, 5-2 Colonels.
Well, you knew you weren't going to be able to keep the Wildcats scoreless all game. Good job by Dan River attacking the basket, getting it close.
Hubbard travels. Dan River gets the turnover, and that's the last thing you need in this building is the Wildcats to get Mo with them.
Yeah, you don't want to turn the basketball over, let the crowd for Dan River get into it, and you don't want to turn it over without getting a look at some points either. I mean, you want to at least get a shot up on every possession.
Ball back, and Demetrius Johnson check in. They check in for Hubbard and McClure.
5 minutes remaining now. Altavista leading 5-2.
Wildcats basketball. McMoore drives in. McMoore spins around. McMoore might have taken a step or two, but gets the hit shot in off the window, and it's 5-4.
Good penetration there by D. McMoore. Spin move help.
Altavista in trouble, and a whistle, and a foul against Dan River. It's on number 12, McMoore. It's his first. Team's third. Or team's second.
McMoore ran wild on the gridiron all year.
It is a third, actually, according to my record.
No, you're right. It is 3, and the board has just changed. And I know the Colonels don't want to see McMoore run wild in this game, so they're going to do their best to keep him in check.
Once was enough.
Exactly.
Thornhill with the basketball.
They did a nice job limiting his points at Altavista a month ago, Bob.
Over to Walker, and foul away from the basketball. It's against Dan River.
Tyrone Adams, a little too much jockeying going on with Demetrius Johnson down low. We've talked about that all year, Bob. If you haven't listened before or seen Altavista, watching the Johnson brothers work on the low post is a treat because they get into it. Sometimes they'll give the fouls right back to the defensive guy. It's definitely a physical game when either of the Johnson brothers is on the court. Right now, they're both on the court.
Colonels lead 5-4. 4:33 to go. Altavista got out quickly and scored the first 5 of the game. Dan River has rallied back to notch the last 4. Thornhill with the basketball. Thornhill kind of lost his balance and looked like he might have had some help losing it. Double team, gets over to Malbeck, and they're going to call a travel on Juan.
And you hear the crowd just explode there on that turnover. Now you're going to get a technical foul on somebody. Let's see who this is on. It may be on somebody from Altavista.
No, it looks like it's on Dan River.
Yep. I believe he said number 24. That would be Tyrone Adams. Didn't see anything in the body language, but he must have said something that the referee didn't like. Altavista, this will wipe out that turnover. They'll get the free throws, and then they should get the basketball back, although they're still trying to hand Dan River the basketball. That doesn't make sense. How do you get a technical foul and not 2 foul shots, Bob?
We got friends. We'll find that out later.
I can't understand that one. I mean, the technical foul sign was given.
Yeah, I'm kind of
there should be 2 fouls. There should be 2 foul shots there. Unless this is a new rule that you and I don't know about.
Well, I like the crew. It's a good crew. My bald brethren, Charles Trent and Brian Wallace, and Jason Page has hair, but I like him anyway as well. 5-4 with 4:10 to go. You know, Tyrone Adams and Terrell Edmonds were the only 2 players in double figures that first game. Nobody from Altavista.
And just to clarify, it is Dan River basketball. Even though they did get a technical foul, we'll have to do some research on that one at halftime. Going to get a foul on the Colonels here, though.
I think it was on Walker.
Maybe it was a double technical. And he didn't do the technical sign twice, Bob. How about that?
Well, that could be, because if the board is right, Altavista does have 3 fouls.
I'm thinking that must be what it is. Michi Malbeck was in the area with Tyrone Adams. I don't want to speculate, though, but it could have been could have been the other one on him. That's probably what happened. Dan Rivers shooting the free throws. They made the first one.
Terrell Edmonds at the stripe, missed the second one. And like you point out, Kyle, sometimes Dan River does not give themselves a good shot to rebound those free throws.
No, they don't put anybody in the lane to rebound except for the foul shooter himself. And, well, he's got 4 guys boxing him out.
Darius Johnson spins, gets to the basket, soft little teardrop, goes down at 7-5, Altavista.
Altavista needed that. Hadn't scored in a while.
Dan River back the other way. Johnson with the block, picked up by brother Demetrius. That got the Altavista contingent into it.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a foul down low underneath against Darius Johnson. Darius Johnson was the guy who was fouled. He was fouled by number 33, Tyleek Edmonds.
Yeah, I think it was on the floor, so no shooting here. Boy, Bob, I don't normally keep the block stat, but I'm going to have to start because Darius has got 3 so far here tonight. I can remember that, so I'll write down the other ones now.
3 minutes and 37 seconds left. Dan Rivers already committed 16 fouls.
Yeah.
Dylan Allen in the game for Altavista. Allen puts it on the floor looking for somewhere to go, finds a cutter, and Malbeck the extra pass to Darius Johnson. Johnson sticks in too.
Great ball movement. Great job by Dylan Allen getting out of pressure.
3-pointer by Dan Rivers. Hit off front iron. No good. Rebounded by Michi Malbeck. You got to figure, though, at some point, as Malbeck gets fouled there by number 12, D. McMoore, it's his second.
And a technical foul again, and this one is on Michi Malbeck. He can't believe it. That brings another big roar from the Dan River crowd. He might be if that first one was on him. Altavista, somebody has to shoot the 1-and-1 foul shots, and then Dan River's going to get 2 foul shots of their own in the basketball, and that is they're now saying 2 on Mr. Michi Malbeck. That is a strange turn of events. 17 fouls on Dan River, 14 fouls on Altavista. Colonels lead 9-5. Looks like they're going to shoot Dan River's foul shots first, although Altavista still should get a 1-and-1 after this, correct?
Mike Carlero wants an explanation.
Yep.
And somebody, I think the new rule is somebody's got to go with him just in the locker room, just to keep eyes.
Yeah. First free throw up and in for Dan River. They're going to have, that's Bayshawn Jones shooting their foul shots for him here on the technical. Second one on the way. That one not in. It was 1 for 2 that trip. I guess they're going to say Altavista doesn't get a 1-and-1 here. And that's, again, I don't really understand that one because, no, they are. Kanavis Jones is going to shoot the 1-and-1 now for Altavista. And then Dan River should get the basketball back. Don't know why they didn't shoot the Colonels foul shot first.
As normal, I'm thoroughly confused.
Well, it's not something you see every day, that's for sure.
Me thoroughly confused?
Canavis will have nobody on the line with him to shoot his 1-and-1. 3:13 remaining. Altavista leads 9-6 in a wild game early. We knew it would be crazy. Free throw no good from Canavis.
So it's 9-6. Altavista still in front.
Yep.
Bayshawn Jones was the Wildcat who hit the free throw, I believe.
Yep, 1 of 2.
Glad you're here tonight. Keep me straight.
I'm glad to be here.
Getting confusing early. McMoore drives, kick out. Shot up by Dan River. It's good. It's from the corner. It's Tyquan Adams.
Might even get more confusing. Turnover here. Dan River's got a steal. That's Edmonds.
In and out. Rebounded Darius Johnson. And still loose. Johnson reaches back for it. Jump ball. It should give the arrow to Altavista, I think.
Thought there could have been a foul in there. Arrow.
I thought the arrow read Dan River last time.
I agree. Dan River got the last jump ball, mutual possession. And now I believe, yes, it is going to be Altavista basketball. 2:40 to play in the Apple Market first quarter. 9-8 right now is our score, Bobby.
Wow. That's all I can say.
Well, that's bad. 5-20 if the play-by-play guy is speechless.
The first 5:20 of this game has had more action than we've seen in some, halves this year. And Michi Malbeck was given 2 technicals early.
One of them was a double technical, and we weren't sure.
Well, I mean, they still count. They add up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And, the thing about it is now Michi's gone tomorrow night, too.
Yeah, losing him for this one is not good news, and you're right, he's gone tomorrow, too.
Demetrius bumped. Demetrius kind of volleyballs it back. The basketball is going back to Dan River. And, I'm surprised the crowd hadn't really jumped into this one a little bit more than they have.
Well, I think the crowd is like simmering, waiting to boil over the pot. They've gotten loud a few times. And, the officials probably called those technicals early to try and keep the players in check a little bit.
Dan River gets it underneath. Johnson goes upstairs for a block. I thought Darius might have actually gotten a little contact with Tyquan Adams, to be honest with you, but Adams was sandwiched. Altavista basketball. Canavis Jones gives it to McClure. It's squirted all the way through. Luckily, Juan Thornhill was standing right in front of the Dan River bench to get it. McClure can't catch up with it. Dan River comes down this way. McClure with the foul. And he runs right in to Bayshawn Jones hard enough to where Jones couldn't get the shot.
And it was probably a good foul. You don't want to give him a chance to make the layup. McClure's momentum, he was going full speed. He really couldn't do anything to stop himself. Bayshawn Jones was 1 of 2 last time on the technical fouls. Makes the first one here. 9-9 tie ball game now, Bob Alvis. Under 2 minutes to play in this Apple Market first quarter.
I'll tell you what, I haven't had to pay to get into a game for a long time, but whatever the ticket admission is nowadays, Amy, money's worth had in the first 6 minutes.
$5 gets you the whole seat, but you only need the edge of it. Bayshawn Jones knocks down both free throws. First lead of the night for the Wildcats.
I think a lot of people would probably pay just to stand to watch this one. Darius Johnson kicks to Hubbard. Now over to Demetrius Johnson. Johnson spins. Johnson gets it inside and takes a shot up. It goes in, but a travel.
Second or third traveling violation we've seen. Officials are watching that very tightly, watching the feet tonight. It's amazing you can watch the feet and watch everything else, Bob.
Darius Johnson having a little battle right down here with Tyleek Edmonds. I'll tell you, if they jockey too much, they're going to be into us.
Yep.
Dan River with the basketball. Wildcats drive in underneath. Squirts the pass through. Darius Johnson again. Right mark that one.
Another one.
Dan River squirts it through this time. 3-pointers up by the Wildcats. That's going to go down. That's Bayshawn Jones.
And that's big. That brought the crowd to their feet.
They're up 4, 13-9 are the Wildcats with 1:20 to go. And a foul underneath. And, really I think this is a game to where you're being forced to be on your P's and Q's early, because I think it's been established chicanery or, I don't want to say hijinks, but I think you know where I'm going. Keep the emotions in check.
You got to keep the emotions in check. Nothing after the whistle. No talking, no jawing at any other players or the refs. That's certainly the guidelines the officials are trying to establish in this one. because they know so much emotion in this one, particularly with the big crowd, that sometimes guys get carried away a little bit and do things you don't normally expect.
Demetrius Johnson hits the first. It's 13-10. The other thing with Michi gone is this kind of cuts into your rotation a little bit. I don't know how much, though, since Canavis Jones has been brought up. I don't think it's as bad as, if there was no Canavis Jones, because it gives you a quick guy. 13-11.
You lose one of your guards, you lose one of your very good defenders.
Demetrius Johnson had to steal. The foul is going to be on Dan River. I think it's going to go against Tyquan Adams.
Yep, I believe.
And really,
right.
Bad break. I mean, because Adams is just laying on the ground. Demetrius kind of runs over him a little bit, but it is a foul.
Well, ball was loose, and they were both going after it, and Demetrius just got there first.
Right.
It's the same principle as a charge. If you get to that spot first and the other guy runs through you, then the foul's on him. The guy that gets there first wins.
I got 2 on Adams.
I do too.
Demetrius misses the free throw. Dan River tries to go a little too fast. Eric Poindexter picks it up. Now over to Darius. Darius spin move, not going to fall down. Demetrius comes in with the rebound. Johnson tugs it away. Johnson puts it up. That won't go down. Dan River rebounds. And now they lose it again. Poindexter. The one-handed bounce pass to Thornhill. Juan fires from 3. That's off the mark. Rebound tapped out by Poindexter, and it's going back over to Dan River.
Eric couldn't come up with that last rebound, but you got to give EP a lot of credit. Playing inspired basketball here early. He was everywhere on that play. Got a steal, got the ball back, got a rebound, made a nice pass. Eric Poindexter, one of those seniors I talked about, that really provides a nice balance for the young guys.
We have talked about it. I don't think Altavista is scared to play fast with Dan River, but I think that's a little bit of,
overboard.
I was going to say the foot's all the way down to accelerating, and the steering wheel's not working. 3-pointers up, air ball, and it's a foul, and it's going the other way.
Wow.
And that's on Tremaine Edmonds, I believe.
I think you're
right. I think that's his first. And now Altavista's in the double bonus the rest of the first half, and we only have 35.9 seconds to go in quarter 1.
We're in the first quarter, and they're in the double bonus. The officials, again, trying to set the standard that, hey, you're going to play physical, but you got to keep it in check somewhat. It looked like they gave the foul to Altavista and moved their total up to 6. Altavista should have 5 team fouls. Let's keep an eye on it, see if they change it. Soup is at that scores table, Ryan Mitchell, so I'm sure he'll keep an eye on it. First one up and in, both of them good from Darius.
13-12, 13-13. 30 seconds to go in this quarter. Wildcats with it. Long shot by Dan River, no good. Rebounded by Altavista and Darius Johnson. Johnson zigzags his way up the floor, takes it up, had it stripped. Dan River with the save. Now Darius saves it. Down to 18 seconds. Johnson loses it, going down low. Altavista right now, I think, way too fast. Dan River with the basketball coming down this way. Blocking foul on Thornhill. I thought Juan might have had position, but he was close to that no-charge zone.
Yeah, he was close to being too far underneath the basket. No restricted area in high school like there is in the pros, but the officials tend to call it that way anyway. Foul goes against Thornhill. His first, 6th on the Colonels as a team. So theoretically, Dan River could get themselves in a bonus situation before the first quarter was done. 9.5 seconds left. Bob and Mr. Edmonds, Terrell Edmonds this time, going for the old-fashioned 3-point play from the foul line.
Can't keep up with your Edmondses without a scorecard, literally. Free throws up and in, 16-13. I like Thornhill, though, kept his composure, and a steal by Dan River. Wildcats come down this way. They get 2 more, and it's going to go in. Fayshawn Jones on that one.
Big swing here for Dan River. Get the 3-point play with Edmonds, then they get a steal, and they got a chance for another 3-point play, potentially a 6-point swing here, Bob, just in a matter of seconds.
Catch a foul?
Did not.
I didn't either. That's okay. Walker with it over to Thornhill. Down to 1. Altavista's not going to get anything off. In the first quarter, not necessarily the best thing, but not necessarily the worst thing either. Altavista only down 5 at a hostile Dan River High School. Wildcats and Colonels right here on 105.5 KD Country.
The game is brought to you by these members of the Altavista Sports Club.
Chef's Drive-In, serving hometown pride with 18 flavors of milkshakes.
Comfort Inn in Altavista, outdoor pool and free hot breakfast with your stay.
Steve's Florist, best quality at the best price for all occasions.
El Cerrito Mexican Restaurant, authentic Mexican food, open 7 days a week.
Aubrey Rosser, attorney at law, Main Street, Altavista.
Peace of Pie Restaurant, Lower Broad Street, Altavista. Give peace a chance.
China Walk Super Buffet, American and Chinese food with the newest item, crab.
Perkins Twin Tire and Auto Service, your Michelin tire store.
You're listening to award-winning coverage of the Altavista Colonels on 105.5 KD Country.
18-13 after one, and I'll tell you, Kyle, this is a big one. I mean, you know, people that normally get to sit back and kind of enjoy being forced into action all over the place tonight. And, you know, everybody's responsibility steps up in big games, home and visiting teams.
I'll tell you, 18-13, Dan River leads. Somebody that always steps up in big games. Nick Bailey always rising to the occasion back at the studio.
Every game's a big game.
I know, and he's got mixed feelings here, you know, because he's a Dan River guy. I think he's a Colonel guy now, but he's just pulling for good basketball. We saw plenty of that in the first quarter, Bob.
Definitely going to catch highlights of this one on the old tube tonight. 18-13 three-pointer hoisted up by Dan River. No good. Rebound, though, right to the Wildcats. Nobody had a butt to the gut to Myers. 20-13 Dan River.
Good job by Myers. Right place, right time. Dan River extends it to a 7-point lead very early here in the Apple Market second quarter, though.
On Thornhill with the basketball. Thornhill gets it over to Poindexter. I think Altavista just needs a solid possession on each side of the ball, and then everything can be okay. Poindexter kicks. Thornhill for three. Triple is good. 20-16, Altavista within 4.
Big shot there. Altavista brought their share of fans. Not nearly as vocal as this Dan River contingent, but they're getting into it as well.
Jones drives underneath. Jones puts it up and in. Dan River is getting a lot of looks right now that are probably too easy to Mike Cartalero's liking. 22-16, Wildcats. Walker's going to drive baseline, takes it up, lays it up too strong. Rebounded by Dan River.
Might have got tipped away by a Wildcat there as well.
Jones drives in, and offensive foul. And that was tough because Thornhill kind of had the hands up a little bit to where it looked like that could have probably gone either way. Fortunately, the ball breaks for Altavista.
Yeah, last time that happened, Juan Thornhill got called with the block. This time he gets called with the charge, so it's probably 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Nice job by Juan Thornhill playing some very good defense. Wildcats defense has been suffocating, though, Bob. Wildcats are really looking good right now, and Altavista needs to find a way to stop this run Dan River's on.
I only got one on Bayshawn Jones. Juan Thornhill with the basketball. Both teams in the bonus. Altavista shooting 2 every time. 6:42 to go in the first half of play. Dan River up 22-16. McClure, offensive foul. And I'll tell you, I don't know if it's a scouting report type thing now, if the other coaches just want to say, hey, we'll get your mouth taken care of after the game or the nose. McClure does kind of tend to try to separate with those arms every now and again.
Yeah, he had the ball extended above his head. He was swinging the elbows just a little bit. He doesn't like the call. It's 2 on Jake McClure. 18 fouls total on Altavista.
Shot by Dan River, no good. It hits the top of the board. No, it does not. It's going to be a foul. And it's against Dan River.
It's on Tremaine Edmonds, his second. A bunch of guys for Dan River have 2 fouls, Bob. Nobody has 3 to my knowledge, though. But, boy, these fouls are starting to add up. I think that's the 13th team foul on Dan River. We still have 6:25 to go in this Apple Market second quarter.
But we've talked about this kind of all season long. If Altavista doesn't make these free throws, you know, really it's futile. 22-17, Darius sinks that one in.
That's a good point. You got to cash in for it to be worth anything. Second quarter brought to you by Apple Market's a proud supporter of Colonel Athletics.
22-17 is where the score will stay. Darius Johnson misses the second free throw. Rebound comes down to Dan River. Wildcats take it up. Edmonds no good. Second try rejected. Darius Johnson. Third try is up. Bayshawn Jones with a little floater. 24-17. Altavista with the basketball. Thornhill with it. Thornhill out along the perimeter. Juan looking for somewhere to go. He'll try the right baseline. Kicks it back to Johnson. Johnson takes it up. And he's going to be fouled, and it's going to be 2 shots.
Yep. In the act of shooting, it wouldn't matter. They're in the double bonus anyway. Good job by Juan Thornhill. Nice pass to find Darius. Darius has been to the foul line a bunch, Bob. 5 of 6 so far. Altavista as a team, 8 of 12 so far. Those aren't bad numbers at all. He misses one there, so the percentage will not improve that time down. Dan River, the free throws really hurt them in the first game, and Altavista was much better. Tonight, Wildcats are shooting okay as well from the foul line, 5 of 8.
I think that foul was against Rayshawn Myers. Darius, second one is up, and it's in. 24-18. Dan River basketball. They lead by 6 with 5:50 to go here in quarter number 2. Wildcats with it out along the perimeter. Edmonds throws it, and I'll tell you, Bayshawn Jones was looking to go to the basket. One problem, he didn't have the basketball quite yet.
Started a little bit too quickly, 5:44. This will turn the basketball over to the Colonels. 2 ties in this one so far, Bob. 2 lead changes after the initial 5-0 lead that Altavista ran out to.
I'll tell you, when you're inbounding on the sideline in front of a bench, you're almost sitting in somebody's lap. Darius Johnson over to Dylan Allen. Allen looking for somewhere to go. Somebody needs to come help him, and Demetrius does. Johnson drives in, leaves a little pass off to Darius. I think Demetrius just got caught in a bad spot and had to get rid of it. Dan River with the basketball the other way. Adams with it. Adams, he'll pull up. Jumper's going to hit the front of the iron and bounce down. That's Tyrone Adams, and it's 26-18 Dan River.
Nice soft touch with the jumper. It hit the front iron once. It hit it again. Then it just top spinned into the basket.
Thornhill drives. Free throw line jumpers up and in. Juan Thornhill cuts this back to a 6-point Dan River lead. And we talked about Altavista, how they played against Appomattox. Well, Dan River had quite the ego builder as well and a travel when they played Chatham. And Walker is going to enter.
A traveling violation there on the Wildcats. Walker checks in the game for Altavista. He joins Demetrius Johnson, Darius Johnson, Juan Thornhill, and Richard Hubbard, who will inbound at Colonels down 6. They could really cut into that lead right here, Bob.
Tyquan Adams re-entered for Dan River on the whistle as well. Thornhill with the basketball. Thornhill right side. Thornhill puts it on the floor. Thornhill puts it in the air, rattles in and out. Rebounded by Dan River. Tyquan Adams secured the board for Dan River. Edmonds with the basketball. Edmonds gives it back to Adams. Now back to Edmonds. Tell you got a good shot of getting that right every time because there's 3 Edmondses and 2 Adamses on this team. Bayshawn Jones pops it back out. 3-pointer by Adams. Long distance, no good. Ball is being tapped around. Rebound is on the floor and
no jump ball. I would think it is, yeah. And they didn't signal it at first, but that's what they're going to call. Possession arrow stays with Altavista, so good job by the Colonels to avoid giving up points on that possession.
Dan River up 6, 26-20, almost midway through the second quarter, 4:10 to go. Wildcats need this one to force a tie in the Dogwood and still need to beat Gretna. Altavista needs to take care of their business if Dan River wins this one against Nelson County to keep it a tie tomorrow night.
It's eerily similar to the situation we had in football, Bob, when Altavista and Dan River met up. Colonels won, they would have won the district title.
Darius Johnson puts it up off the window, too strong, rebounded by Dan River. Wildcats with the basketball. They're shooting on our right here in the first half. Driving down is McMoore. McMoore lost it, got it back. Knocked off some Altavista hands, so McMoore will put it back on the floor. He kicks it over to Jones. Jones thought about a 3. Darius Johnson gets on top of Thornhill. Not going to be a foul, but it took Altavista having 2 guys out of that play. And the foul is going to go against Altavista, and I didn't catch who that one was on, Kyle.
I want to say it was Josh Walker. We'll see. It was an interesting play. Darius and Juan went up to try and block the Dan River shot. The pump fake came, so they ended up crashing into each other. Altavista had to play 5-on-3 there for a second.
If it's on Walker, it's his second, by the way.
Yeah, and maybe sending Dan River to the line wasn't the worst thing in the world on that possession. First free throw was no good.
Bayshawn Jones misses both. 26-20, Wildcats lead remains at 6 with 3:25 to go here before intermission.
Wildcats haven't scored in a while, Bob, but neither has Altavista.
Thornhill inside the arc, now brings it back outside the arc with the dribble. Juan keeps it with his left, now switches it to his right. Pass over to Hubbard, almost taken away, but Richard corrals it. Now over to Juan. Thornhill to Walker. Walker, 3. It's up, it's off the iron, no good. Rebound contested by Darius Johnson, but Dan River comes down with it. McMoore has it. McMoore over to Bayshawn Jones. Jones takes it up, blocked by Thornhill from the backside. Demetrius Johnson hustling after it. Johnson still motoring after it, but Dan River gets the basketball back. 5-on-4. Johnson gets back into play. Underneath to Edmonds. Edmonds takes it up and can't get it. I think Edmonds thought Thornhill had some of him on that one. 2:40 to go. Walker for a triple from the other side. That's short. And Dan River is going to keep it with the rebound. It came down to Taekwon Adams, Kyle. Wild exchange both ways.
Yeah, and again, neither team has scored in about 2.5 or 3 minutes, Bob. Fortunate for Altavista because they haven't been able to cut into the deficit, but their defense has been good. The lead is not growing any for Dan River.
Edmonds over to Adams. Back to Edmonds. Tremaine Edmonds with the basketball. Now gives it to McMoore.
Crowd getting into it now, Bob, with the Let's Go Wildcats chant.
And, you know, it doesn't even really feel like a 6-point game. It even really feels closer than that because Dan River hasn't had a long, sustained run that you would think would push it that bad.
Agreed.
McMoore gets it inside, pitches out to Bayshawn Jones. Jones brings it around, now gets back inside the lane. Jones takes it up, no good. Rebound, Demetrius Johnson. Johnson will calm it down and now hands it off to Juan Thornhill. Minute 40 to go. Richard Hubbard for a triple. That three is in. Hubbard rattles it home. And Altavista trims that lead to 3.
The three-pointer working for Richard Hubbard. Only Altavista's second 3 of the game, but it's a big one. Cuts the lead in half. 26-23. They trail now.
Jones tries to cross over. The foul is going to go against Thornhill.
That's 2 on him at least.
I have 2.
Yeah, a 1-and-1 situation. Our colleague Oscar Briggs fears that it might be 3 on Juan Thornhill, and Juan is coming over to the bench for a little breather, so maybe it is 3 team fouls on Mr. Thornhill.
Well, we're going to make Oscar do his legwork at the half and go get the fouls straight for everybody with Mr. Mitchell at the scorer's table. First free throws up and in. Bayshawn Jones with it. 27-23. Altavista has an O in the loss column. Dan River looking to fake a 1 there.
That's right.
But I mean, this game is important. Don't get me wrong, but it's not a season ender tonight.
No, not at all.
Both of them good, but too.
Yep.
28-23. Now
Altavista still undefeated. Dan River doesn't have many losses.
Right. With all that being said, I'd rather win it than lose it. Poindexter all over the place, knocks the official into the scorer's table. And the basketball is going to go back to Dan River.
Yeah, a little bit of bad luck there for Eric Poindexter. He reversed his direction. The official was right there behind him, slowed him down, then he lost the basketball. Just over a minute to play here from Ringgold. Wildcats lead by 5.
Edmonds gives it off to Adams. Now to Edmonds for a triple. It's in. Tremaine Edmonds was the man on that one. The Dan River lead back to 8.
Another three-pointer. Dan River has shot the 3 ball very well tonight, Bob.
Colonels with it. Poindexter looking for somewhere to go, and foul is going to go against Dan River.
Eric will get to shoot 2 because of the double bonus. Dan River's foul problems continue as Tyrone Adams has at least 3 fouls.
And I'll tell you, Kyle, I thought for a minute that might have gone the other way a little bit too, because Eric was kind of leading a little bit, trying to get some separation.
Yeah, again, in basketball, it's a contact sport. It might not be a collision sport like football, but it's a contact sport. So you're going to get some back and forth both ways, and that's why it's so tough for the officials to call a good game. I think they've done fantastic tonight. First free throw, no good by Eric Poindexter.
Poindexter misses the first. Well, and then the other similarity to football, you could call holding on every play somewhere, somehow. Yeah. You could call a foul on every play if you really wanted to, somewhere, somehow. Poindexter misses 2 because, I mean, there's so much going on. If it's not at the ball, I mean, it's away from the ball.
Right.
31-23. Wildcats hold for 1.
I think they'll look for a good shot.
McMoore thought about a 3. McMoore gets in the lane, puts it off the glass, and it goes down. Dan River, biggest lead of the night at 10.
Yeah, this is the biggest lead of both games by far. 10-point lead here for the Wildcats. Another foul on Dan Rivers. Demetrius was trying to drive it up. This one on Tremaine Edmonds, his 3rd. Maybe the foul trouble comes back to haunt Dan River in the second half, Bob. We will see.
3rd foul against Tremaine Edmonds, and it will send Demetrius Johnson to the stripe.
I mean, this is at least 16 or 17 team fouls on Dan River. That's in 1/2 of basketball. First one up and in from Demetrius Hubbard. He's been good from the free throw stripe, Bob. 3 of 4 so far tonight.
I'll tell you, Johnson has been huge inside in the paint on defense, and I'll tell you, Demetrius' motor has 1 speed, full speed.
Absolutely.
33-24, 25.5 seconds to go. Johnson's second one goes down as well, 33-25.
Good job by Demetrius Johnson. First off, getting to the foul line. Second off, cashing in when he's there, down to 20 seconds.
I'll tell you, Kyle, my hand's getting tired on this one. It wasn't tired in game one with these two, but it's having to work out tonight.
We've about eclipsed that point total already.
9 seconds. McMoore, guarded by Hubbard. McMoore, he'll go to the basket. He'll kick. Fayshawn Jones for three. Off the iron, no good. Rebound tapped around. Picked up by Hubbard. And Altavista will just leave the basketball in their hands at the end of the first half. Score after 16 minutes. 33 for Dan River, 25 for Altavista. It's an 8-point margin here on 105.5 KD Country.
Try a variety of daily lunch specials priced under $4 at El Cazador Restaurant. The people that brought the first Mexican food to the area 13 years ago and still going strong 7 days a week. Come by for Mexican or American food, all reasonably priced, with drink specials and great service too. Voted best Mexican restaurant by you, their customers, El Cazador Mexican Restaurant, Main Street in Altavista. El Cazador Mexican Restaurant thanks you for your loyalty and your business.
A short drive will save you money.
That's right. A short drive can save you hundreds, maybe thousands. The absolute best selection of new and pre-owned vehicles to choose from. Have a trade? When you make a deal, Feller Chevrolet will pay it off, no matter how much you owe. Slow credit? Don't worry. Drive away today in your new or pre-owned vehicle. Remember, if you didn't purchase your vehicle from Feller Chevrolet, you paid too much for it.
Feller Chevrolet in Altavista.
English Construction Company has been in the building business since 1932, so it's only natural that they appreciate the building process. They recognize the fact that organized sports programs build character as well as bodies and minds. They know that high school sports build our youth into more well-rounded and more productive adults. English Construction Company is proud to be a sponsor of high school sports and salute all athletes, coaches, and teachers. A word of praise and encouragement from English Construction Company with offices in Lynchburg, Virginia.
You're listening to award-winning coverage of the Altavista Colonels on 105.5 KD Country.
Subway halftime show shows 33 under the home side, 25 under the visitor. If you're a Dan River fan, that's pretty good news. You're up 8 here at intermission as they are knocking the Colonels. Now, I wouldn't say into, a state of panic, but I think Altavista has, this game is, they don't mind the fast tempo, but I think this is a little faster than they wanted.
Yeah, a little bit too quick. They've made some uncharacteristic turnovers, probably because they got going a little too fast. I don't think the Colonels have played bad by any stretch of the imagination, Bob, and it's kind of like you said earlier, it feels a lot closer than an 8-point game, doesn't it?
Maybe the better word is a reckless pace, honestly. Yeah, and it feels a lot closer than an 8-point game. 33-25 is our score. Bob Alvis and Kyle Hoehne here from Dan River High School in Pennsylvania County. And, one thing there, too, KH, is the fouls. I mean, it was really almost kind of a foul fest both ways between both groups. Altavista had their share, but Dan River, I think Coach Murphy might have one. It seems like everybody from Dan River picked up a foul in that first half.
Right. It seems like everybody's got one. A lot of guys have 2 and 3 for Dan River. They committed at least, like I said, 17 team fouls. Altavista committed their fair share of fouls as well. And they committed 2 that were bigger than others. 2 technical fouls on Michi Malbeck. He was excused from the rest of the game because of that. And I think it's hurt Altavista a little bit. They miss his presence in the backcourt. They miss his defensive abilities. So those were big. That's, if you get 2 technical fouls, that's the same thing as getting 5 regular fouls, Bob. You're done for the night, so it wasn't good news from that aspect.
And he'll get a vacation tomorrow evening as well, because if you get ejected, you miss the next game. I'll take the glass half full on this one, though. At least it's not a game heading into, a district semifinal or a district final. I don't want to say it's only Nelson County, but it's a game that, is important, but it's not a game where it's season on the line or anything like that.
Yeah, and you got to feel for Michi a little bit, because it's probably one of those things, we couldn't see anything in the body language or anything he said. It was probably more the officials trying to set the no-nonsense tone to start the game, because one of them was a double technical with him and a Dan River player. I believe it was McMoore, actually.
Tyrone Adams.
Okay, there you go. Thank you, Bob.
Sorry.
That's what we pay you for.
Yeah, there you go.
And You know, again, I think they were just trying to set the tone, say, hey, we're not going to take any foolishness, no nonsense tonight. Not that it justifies it or anything, but that was the situation. Now Altavista's had to move on. I think they've done well of that, but they do trail by 8. And when you're at Dan River, sometimes 8 points can be a big deficit, Bob.
You're absolutely right, Kyle. We'll talk more about that. We'll give you some numbers and more right here on the Subway Halftime Show. It's Altavista trailing Dan River 33-25 on KD Country.
Check out these new in-store specials at your local Apple Market. Energize with 2 12-ounce Red Bulls for just $5. Or grab an extra large bag of Doritos for just $3.49 and a 24-pack of Coke only $6.99. Or enjoy a tasty chicken tender sandwich for just $2.49 at Riverside or Main Street and Gretna Apple Market locations. Visit the Apple Market's convenience stores soon.
Installing Atrium vinyl replacement windows is like an investment in your home that can begin to pay dividends right away. You can save up to 30% or more on your home's heating and cooling costs. Add to your home's equity and add to its value by upgrading its looks and energy efficiency. Custom crafted Atrium vinyl replacement windows. Invest in your home's future with English's.
English's is your complete home center.
Business 29, Altavista.
Don't you think it's time that your business account made you money? I'm Marion Marshall with First National Bank, and we've introduced a small business interest checking account that earns your business interest. That's right, interest. So for a progressive small business checking account, come to First National Bank today. We'll show how your business account will earn interest, and we'll provide you with an extraordinary customer experience. First National Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
You're listening to award-winning coverage of the Altavista Colonels on 105.5 KD Country.
Altavista Dan River locked in a slugfest, Kyle, 33-25. The Wildcats lead by 8, and, I talk about it back in the day. Jacob Groove said organized chaos. Well, that lives, and that's still free-flowing down here. I think when it got fast, that's when Altavista got fast, and it just got it was a compact. It was a trash compactor in terms of things started to spin bad.
Yeah, it's kind of like a pinball machine. When the ball's moving around slow, it seems easy. When it starts bouncing around and banging off of things, it becomes a lot tougher. And I think you're right. That's probably what happened to Altavista a little bit. Not that the Colonels can't play fast, but maybe they make one or two more mistakes that they make or that they don't make when they slow it down. We'll see what happens in the second half. I mean, the second half, they may have to play a little more up-tempo and get up and go just because they do trail by 8 in this one, 33-25. It is the Subway halftime show, Subway Eat Fresh, 2 fantastic locations. February is any $5 foot long, and you can't beat that deal. Great breakfast, great lunch, great dinner. Check out Subway, Bob Alvis. I know you're
great customer service, and
Absolutely.
I don't know. I mean, if you might be too late. But if you want to get in for the Super Bowl, I'd definitely call tomorrow.
Every big game deserves a big sub.
It does. I mean, and there are big college basketball games tomorrow. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I know they're there.
Right.
And, hey, get your sub for this one, too, because these are big games when you've got Alvis and Hoehne.
That's exactly right.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back with some halftime stats. Altavista trails Dan River 33-25.
A short drive will save you money.
That's right. A short drive can save you hundreds, maybe thousands. The absolute best selection of new and pre-owned vehicles to choose from. Have a trade? When you make a deal, Feller Chevrolet will pay it off, no matter how much you owe. Slow credit? Don't worry. Drive away today in your new or pre-owned vehicle. Remember, if you didn't purchase your vehicle from Feller Chevrolet, you paid too much for it.
Feller Chevrolet in Altavista.
Specials priced under $4 at El Cazador Restaurant. The people that brought the first Mexican food to the area 13 years ago and still going strong 7 days a week. Come by for Mexican or American food, all reasonably priced, with drink specials and great service too. Voted best Mexican restaurant by you, their customers, El Cazador Mexican Restaurant, Main Street in Altavista. El Cazador Mexican Restaurant thanks you for your loyalty and your business.
In the past century, our community has grown, and Finch & Finch Funeral and Cremation Service has grown too, alongside the families they've known for so long. Finch & Finch is proud to have served you over 100 years. A family business, Finch & Finch Funeral and Cremation Service, dedicated to your service.
Finch & Finch Funeral Homes. We're here because we care.
You're listening to award-winning coverage of the Altavista Colonels on 105.5 KD Country.
Back here from Dan River High School, where it was a interesting first half. I don't think I've ever been to an Altavista Dan River game where it hasn't been interesting in some way.
That's a great point. I mean, we knew that coming into this one. It's always fun when these two teams lock up, but then when you got a potential district championship on the line, which Altavista could claim outright, they win this one tonight, well, that just adds a lot more spice to the mix there and keeps things extremely interesting, Mr. Alvis. We've had fun, though, and again, I think every fan, whether you're a Colonel fan, Dan River fan, just a basketball fan, you've definitely had your money's worth in this one so far.
Yeah,
Just still got another half to go.
I would concur with you 100% on that one, Mr. Hoehne, and I would also concur that Dan River really rolls out the red carpet for us. Got to send a big thank you to Miss Julia Woodward and Mr. Crump, Officer Crump, and as well as Mr. Wilkerson in the technology department in the central office. You know, those guys in the main office, sometimes they, get thrown under in terms of people don't see them every day, so they think they're not there. No, they're there. They're working hard.
Yeah, they do a great job. They always treat us like first-class citizens when we come here to any Pittsylvania County school, but definitely Dan River is another one of those places, and we've been down here a bunch in the past, Bob. Altavista's had to come down here. Of course, you remember that wild game 2 years ago, the district tournament final where Altavista came down here and beat Dan River in overtime. That was where we had the buzzer beater.
Yeah, we even got an award off that one.
With Trey Evans. Yeah, that was one of our Virginia Association of Broadcasters award-winning games, and, man, that was a great game. This one's shaping up to be a lot like that, although Altavista is going to have to pull a comeback effort out of their hat if they want to get it into overtime anyway, like that one was.
Dan River outscored the Colonels 18-13 in quarter one, only 15-12 in quarter two. I felt Dan River played better in the second quarter. I felt they would have won the second quarter by a bigger margin than they would have won the first quarter.
Yeah, the Colonels, I thought defensively they did a pretty good job in that second quarter, and Dan River didn't score for a long stretch of time, so that's probably why Dan River had more points in the first quarter rather than in the second quarter. But again, just a good basketball game. Dan River has really played great. You can tell they've gotten a little bit better since that first meeting. And I think you can tell Altavista's gotten a little bit better, too. It's just a little tougher test when you got to go on the road and play down here in Ringgold, because this gym is not inviting to visiting teams at all.
No, and, I think of an old Charles Drizel quote, you better known as Lefty. I don't know how good either one of these teams are, but they ain't bad.
Right.
These are two of the best in Dogwood. Both of them could be playing extended basketball. The baseball seasons for Coach Grant and Coach McCormick might have to wait a while in terms of getting a full complement if they have some, because these guys could be disrupting their spring sports season, if you know what I mean.
Well, both of these teams have secured their place in regionals, no doubt. They're trying to improve their seeding. That's for sure. You'd love to be the first seed in your region, because then that means you host all the way out. The 2 seed isn't bad either. That means you host the first 2 rounds, and then you go on the road possibly in that final game. And then, of course, the 3 and 4 seed are also inviting, because that means you at least host that first round game.
Right, and with the way the region is, you don't want to go on the road.
No.
Not on a school night, especially, because, that's a long trip down some road.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you remember a few years ago, Dan River had to make a bunch of those long trips consecutively. They made, a couple 4-hour drives, not on back-to-back nights, but 2 of them in 3 nights, and that definitely wears on you a little bit. You're right. You don't want to have to go on the road if you can help it. And that's another reason why this game is very important, Bob, not just for the district title, but for seeding in Region B tournament play. Of course, Dan River, we should mention, is Division II, Altavista Division I. So after the district tournament, they won't be seeing any more of each other.
Yeah, and they normally don't give you the nice charter bus until later on. So those regional trips are, more of the old cheese wagon, Kyle. quick, your thoughts on the first half in terms of what stood out to you and in terms of impressiveness on both teams?
Well, Darius Johnson, first off, for Altavista, just was on a tear in that first half. I've got him with 6 rebounds and 5 blocks. That may be a little on the low side as far as an understatement goes. Scored a bunch as well. He was 6 for 8 from the free throw line. For Dan River, their defense, I mean, they just get after you. Everybody on the court, everybody on the team plays fantastic man-to-man defense. They make it very tough on the Colonels just to even get a shot off on some possessions, let alone a good look at the basket.
Yeah, I mean, you said it right there. I thought Darius was the factor in the first quarter. Let's go over some stats here real quick on the Subway halftime show. Altavista, only 4 guys scoring. Juan has 6. Darius has 12. Demetrius with 4 and Richard Hubbard with 3. For Dan River, Bayshawn Jones has 14. D. McMorr with 2. Tyquan Adams with 4. Tyrone Adams with 2. Rayshawn Myers with 2. Terrell Edmonds with 4. And Tremaine Edmonds with 3. And I'm missing a 2 even there somewhere. And what if it's going to another guy? I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Wildcats that have scored in the first half.
They've spread it around. It's kind of like we talked about in the Subway pregame show. Very much a balanced team for Dan River, a balanced team for Altavista. I think the Colonels would love to get some more points on that scoreboard. They don't care if it comes from those same 4 guys or not.
Steal Altavista. They're coming towards us. They're going to the right here in the quarter. Thornhill with a nice play, and I'll tell you why in a moment as McClure gets the rebound. Now over to Hubbard. Hubbard looking for somewhere to go, goes back over to Juan Thornhill. Now to McClure in the corner. McClure looking for somewhere to go, trying to get it over top of Edmonds. He'll go to Johnson at the free throw line. Johnson spins, turns, fires, no good. Rebound almost tapped down by Darius, and Demetrius picks it up and they get in 2.
Brother to brother, man to man. You can't beat that as Darius just got a fingertip on it and Demetrius cleaned up the rest.
33-27, a foul on this way. And it's on Altavista. And I think it's on Hubbard. And if so, that's only his first. I'll tell you, the play that Thornhill made down here, I've never seen a defender backpedal so much to avoid a charge and almost give Juan an uncontested layup.
Yeah, I think it threw Juan off a little bit. He expected the defender to step up at some point. Maybe he would have to pull up and try and knock down the jumper. Defender kept giving ground, so he kept going, and it might have thrown him off a little bit. First free throw, no good by the Wildcats.
But, I mean, normally you'll just see the guy. I don't think it was, I don't know if he didn't want to contest the shot or if Juan was just going so fast he didn't want to hit the contact.
Right.
There, 33-27, McMorr misses 2. Darius Johnson with the basketball. McClure comes around a Darius Johnson screen, now over to Thornhill. Juan with it. Juan drives all the way underneath, gets a layup, and it goes down. Altavista's gotten the first 4 in this third quarter, and now they trail by that number 4. 33-29, 6:50 to go.
Exactly the way Mike Cardellaro wanted to come out of the locker room, Bob. Fast and furious, getting the points early, and that prompts a timeout from Coach Kenny Murphy and the Wildcats.
We will observe the stoppage as well. It comes with 6:44 in quarter 3. Altavista trails by 4 on KD Country.
English Construction Company has been in the building business since 1932, so it's only natural that they appreciate the building process. They recognize the fact that organized sports programs build character as well as bodies and minds. They know that high school sports build our youth into more well-rounded and more productive adults. English Construction Company is proud to be a sponsor of high school sports and salute all athletes, coaches, and teachers. A word of praise and encouragement from English Construction Company with offices in Lynchburg, Virginia.
You're listening to award-winning coverage of the Altavista Colonels on 105.5 KD Country.
Altavista trails 33-29, but I think Uncle Mo lives with the Colonels here early on.
Absolutely. Great start to the second half, and you got to give Coach Kenny Murphy a lot of credit for calling the timeout for Dan River, recognizing, hey, Altavista's getting some momentum here. Let me do my part to put a stop to that.
Edmonds with the rock. Bounces it left side. Jones drives, kicks it back out. Dangerous pass as Edmonds was there to catch it. Dan River, you can tell that's team chemistry, though. I mean, that pass looked wild. It was taken away on the steal, though, by Thornhill. Thornhill gets it to McClure. McClure for 3. Triples up, it's short. Rebounded by Dan River. Thornhill plants, now comes over left side, and a foul by McClure. It's against Edmonds.
Believe that's going to be 3 on Jacob McClure. That one comes with 6:08 to play. Altavista kept the momentum on their side when they got the steal, but they couldn't cash in. Dan River comes down and gets to the foul line. Third quarter, Bob, brought to you by Apple Markets. Check out the weekly specials all game long at all 3 locations.
Terrell Edmonds at the stripe, joined by 4 Colonels at the free throw line. In terms of around that rebounding area, makes the first 34-29. 3 Edmondses on the team, not all brothers, but all related somehow. You can tell that by the looks in the faces. They all look very strikingly. They look like family.
Yep.
Missed the free throw. Edmonds tried to go in and get his own rebound. Demetrius Johnson beat him to the punch. Johnson in the front court, dribbling the basketball, looking for some help. Hands off to Thornhill. Juan with the rock. Juan had it taken away. Demetrius tried to pick it up. Good job by McMoore to keep the dribble while falling down. D. McMoore in the front court. McMoore inside the arc now pulls it back out. Back heels on the edge of that Dan River circle at half court. Goes down low. Adams. Pitch back. McMoore. He'll try his hand from deep. It's in. D. McMoore straight down Broadway on that one. 3-pointer's up. It's in. It's an 8-point Dan River lead.
Dan River has really shot the ball well from behind the arc, Bob. Altavista's going to get a foul.
It's all McMoore.
Yep.
Number 2.
Yeah, Demetrius was trying to use the dribble to get by McMoore. McMoore just using a little bit too much of the body there to guard him.
Give Oscar Briggs some credit. He helped us out halftime, went over to get the foul situation for Altavista. You've got Juan with 3. McClure now has 3. Dan River has Tremaine Edmonds with 3, Tyrone Adams with 3, and then 3 players with 2.
So their foul situation not really as bad as you might expect.
Johnson goes up, and he's going to be fouled. That foul's against Tyleek Edmonds, and that's his 3rd, so.
Well, there you go.
Good job, Kyle. 3 Dan River Wildcats now with 3. But, it's a situation like the Colonels. They're so deep.
Yes.
That I'm not saying they want everybody on the team to have 3 fouls or anything.
Right.
But they've got a lot of guys they can bring off the bench. Darius hits the first, cuts it to 7.
And I think that's a big reason why these teams are on top in the district, Bob. They have the deep bench. They have the options they can go to. They can put out different combinations, and they can hurt you in different ways. Both free throws good by Mr. Darius Johnson, so big swing right there.
37-31. Dan River Wildcats rock right now. McMoore with it. Guarded by Poindexter. Poindexter, Juan Thornhill, Demetrius, and Darius Johnson, and Dylan Allen on the floor for the Colonels. McMoore kicks. 3-pointer by Bayshawn Jones. Too strong. Rebounded by Edmonds. Had it, then lost it. Picked up by Darius Johnson. Thornhill with the rock. Over to Dylan Allen. Allen thought about putting it on the floor. Tries to go over top. Gets it to Darius Johnson. Johnson sticks in an easy layup. 37-33.
Great feed by Dylan Allen. Remember, it's just his 2nd varsity game of the year as well. He's been injured. He's come back. Really hasn't missed a beat in the last 2 games.
If you're joining us late, where have you been? Altavista had a little bit of a lead for the first quarter, but Dan River stormed back towards the end of the quarter and has not relinquished the lead since. Wildcats put up a strong shot on that one. A little too strong. Rebounded by Poindexter. Eric gets it over to Demetrius Johnson. Johnson gets in the front court. Now looking for some help. Over to Darius. Johnson had Allen underneath. Didn't see him. Johnson puts it up a little too strong. Rebounded by Dan River. Wildcats with it. McMoore. 2 team fouls apiece here early on. McMoore sticks it down low to Adams. Adams takes it up and in. That's Tyquan Adams. And Tyquan Adams pushes the Wildcats lead back to 6.
Altavista has cut it to a 4-point lead a couple times in this 3rd quarter, Bob, but can't get it any closer. Let's see what they can do in this possession.
Poindexter, one-handed bounce pass down to Darius Johnson. Johnson sticks it up. He took some contact. No call. And Johnson's coming up a little gimpy.
Yeah, he looks, I don't know if he's just winded or he hurt something there.
I think he got something. I think he caught something from someone. McMoore with it. Shot up by Dan River, no good. Dylan Allen with the board over to Poindexter. The ladies up 28-14 down the road in Altavista. It's their senior night and a timeout by Mike Cardellaro. We'll take it as well. 3:14 to go in quarter 3, 39-33. Wildcats by 6 on KD Country.
Installing Atrium vinyl replacement windows is like an investment in your home that can begin to pay dividends right away. You can save up to 30% or more on your home's heating and cooling costs. Add to your home's equity and add to its value by upgrading its looks and energy efficiency. Custom crafted atrium vinyl replacement windows. Invest in your home's future with English's.
English's is your complete home center.
Business 29 Altavista.
You're listening to award-winning coverage of the Altavista Colonels on 105.5 KD Country.
3:14 to go in quarter three. I think that timeout was for some strategy, obviously to talk about some things to do, but I think it was also to get Darius a bit of a break, because he looked a little winded right there.
Yeah, everybody's been running up and down the court. This one definitely a lot faster paced than the first one. 39-33, Dan River leads. And you know Coach Carolera, he had to have some things he wanted to say anyway, so it was a multi-purpose timeout. You're right, and I think a well-placed one. Each team has used one timeout so far.
Well, Johnson must not have been too hurt because he's back on the floor.
I think he was just tired, like we said. I think he needed a breather.
I thought he kind of just got a collision or an elbow right in the
that's why you shouldn't speculate.
It's fun. It's fun.
I know.
Poindexter with it. Now over to Thornhill.
Well, it's human nature to speculate. I mean,
hey, believe me, I'd pitch a seat on the court right here. This game is way too fast-paced for me to keep up as an athlete. Poindexter with the basketball. And I've never had that word used with me anyway. Johnson drives all the way down the middle, gets it and one. Big foul, I think, is going to go against number 30.
Yep. That's Tyquan Adams. I think you're exactly right, Bob. Wow, Darius Johnson showing something a little bit new, using the dribble and the drive, going straight down Broadway, right down the middle of the paint. And then the little floater up high as well. Now the Colonels don't like some issue with the scoreboard. Maybe the clock continued to run, or maybe the points aren't right.
Points are right.
Darius will get an extra breather now while they talk this one out. And Darius is on the free throw stripe. He's made both of them so far this half. This is the third quarter brought to you by Apple Markets. Apple Markets, a proud supporter of Colonel Athletics.
Sometimes on a quiet night, we could hear all the way to the scorer's table. I can't even hear all the way to Coach Lee.
What'd you say?
Yeah.
What's that?
We're about 2 feet away.
Can't even hear the man beside you tonight. I think they did put a few seconds on that clock there. 39-35, 2:46 to play in the Apple Market third quarter.
Johnson gets the free throw after the momentary breather. It's 39-36. Dan River up 3, but the Colonels are closing. I think Dan River thought about a 3 right there. Passed it up. And now Adams with the basketball. Now Edmonds with it. Edmonds to Edmonds. Not going to roll down. Rebound came down to Jones for a moment, but Altavista was out of bounds with it. And it'll stay to Dan River with 2:24 remaining in quarter number 3. And the Wildcats cling to a 3-point lead.
Eric Poindexter doing his best to save that one inbounds, but he could not. Good hustle there.
Edmonds over to McMore. Or, pardon me, that is Barry Martin. No good. That shot wild. It looked like it hit the top of the backboard. Dan River saves it and keeps it alive. Deshaun Jones drives in. He can't get it to fall, and Altavista cannot secure a board right now. Martin over to Edmonds. Now back to Martin. 2 minutes to go. Martin had it stripped, still lost it, picked up by Darius Johnson.
Wow, finally. Great defensive stand by the Colonels, because it looked like Dan River had about 6 or 7 chances to score. Couldn't get any of them in.
Thornhill drives all the way to the rack, takes it up and in, and Altavista within a point.
Closest it's been since the second quarter, Bob. 1-point ball game. Juan Thornhill showcasing the talent that has everyone raving about him. The bucket there.
Only a sophomore. Edmonds with the basketball. Ladies win 59-26 tonight over in Altavista, so their senior night is capped off with a W. Dan River with the basketball. Martin has it. Left side to Edmonds.
And now, normally Altavista is the one that takes the air out of the ball and slows things down, Bob. How about Dan River doing just that? They're trying to milk this clock a little bit, run some time off of it, spread the court out some.
And this is where I see coaching with Kenny Murphy, because you don't just do this day one.
That's exactly right.
Edmonds passes it over. Deshaun Jones travels. It's going back to Altavista. 53.7 to go.
Colonels with a very good chance, Bob, to take the lead here in the latter stage of this third quarter. 53 seconds remain in it. 39-38, Dan River leads by 1.
McMoore checks back in. On the floor for Altavista right now, you've got Thornhill, Walker, Poindexter, and the Johnson brothers. Dan River has 2 Edmondses, a Jones, McMoore, and Tyquan Adams. And Walker lost it on the pass. Walker dives after it and couldn't get the jump ball in time, but Dan River gets the timeout. 44 seconds to go. Wildcats get a break. Timeout with 44 seconds to go, and they lead 39-38 on KDE.
If credit card processing is important to your business, I can help. I'm Ramonda Davis of First National Bank, and I'm your local e-commerce officer for merchant card and other electronic business products. Local means I live in Central Virginia. I'm ready to come see you and respond quickly to what you need. Local means I'm focused just on your business needs. For the latest in electronic payment technology and competitive pricing, contact me, Ramonda Davis. First National Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
You're listening to award-winning coverage of the Altavista Colonels on 105.5 KD Country.
Things getting a little wild on a Friday night in Ringgold, Kyle. 39-38, Dan River by 1 with 44 seconds left. Wildcats have the basketball.
Yeah, it was a scramble for it, a loose ball. Looked like both teams had the basketball. Dan River got the timeout, though. Very smart timeout, but I think D. McMoore was the one that signaled for the timeout. He wasn't the one tying up the loose ball, though.
Tyquan Adams gets it over to Terrell Edmonds. 34 seconds to go. Wildcats trying to go to quarter 4 with an advantage. They'll flip it back to Adams. Now over to Bayshawn Jones. Jones passes to Edmonds. Edmonds to the free throw line. Kicks. The 3 is up. It is going to be short. Rebounded by Demetrius Johnson. Johnson moving the basketball around, gets it over to Darius. 12 seconds to go. Johnson passes over to Thornhill. Stepped in front of Poindexter to catch that ball. I don't know if he knew Eric was behind him. Eric now with it. Kicks it out. Demetrius Johnson for 3. It's in.
Wow.
You would not think Demetrius Johnson has long range, but the calling card comes in on that one. 41-39. Altavista regains the lead as we head to quarter number 4 on KD Country.
The game is brought to you by these members of the Altavista Sports Club.
Chef's Drive-In, serving hometown pride with 18 flavors of milkshakes.
Comfort Inn in Altavista. Outdoor pool and free hot breakfast with your stay.
Steve's Florist, best quality at the best price for all occasions.
El Cerrito Mexican Restaurant, authentic Mexican food. Open 7 days a week.
Aubrey Rosser, attorney at law, Main Street, Altavista.
Piece of Pie Restaurant, Lower Broad Street, Altavista. Give peace a chance.
China Walk Super Buffet, American and Chinese food with the newest item, crab.
Perkins Twin Tire and Auto Service, your Michelin tire store.
You're listening to award-winning coverage of the Altavista Colonels on 105.5 KD Country.
That quarter, Kyle, was all Altavista. 16-6. They get the number on that quarter. And more importantly, the number right now that they're concerned with is 41-39. They have a 2-point advantage with 8 minutes to go in regulation.
The big-time shot there by Demetrius Johnson, the buzzer beater for 3. Give Eric Poindexter a lot of credit for a great pass to get it to him in the presence of mind to see that Demetrius was open. 16 points in the quarters, big, Bob, but holding a team like Dan River to 6 in 1 quarter, in my mind, that's huge.
Sophomore. Sophomore with the big one.
The super sophomores, Bob, have really stepped up. They've risen to the occasion. And seniors like Josh Walker, Eric Poindexter, Jacob McClure, they've certainly done their part as well.
Darius had 9 that quarter too, though. So don't let us fool you into thinking Demetrius was the only Johnson that was a factor in quarter 3.
And Colonel basketball to start the 4th quarter too, Bob. How big is that?
Darius over to Demetrius again. This time they're going to call Demetrius for a travel.
The crowd is into it, and the different sides of the crowd really giving it back and forth to each other's side. This is one of those classic high school basketball games. Sometimes you only read about games like this, Bob.
Yeah, you don't see these every day. You got to cherish them. 3-pointer by the Wildcats. It's good. It was a step back for Tyrone Adams. And Dan River back in front 15 seconds into this 4th quarter. 42-41, ball is loose. And it's going back to Dan River.
Altavista had a hard time breaking that full court press. And that's something that Coach Murphy has done a little bit as well, differently. Dan River didn't press much in the first game. In this game, they are pressing. Timeout, Colonels.
We'll take it as well. 7:35 to go in quarter 4. Dan River leads by a point.
In the past century, our community has grown, and Finch & Finch Funeral and Cremation Service has grown too, alongside the families they've known for so long. Finch & Finch is proud to have served you over 100 years. A family business, Finch & Finch Funeral and Cremation Service, dedicated to your service.
Finch & Finch Funeral Homes. We're here because we care.
You're listening to award-winning coverage of the Altavista Colonels on 105.5 KD Country.
Tyrone Adams with a biggie for Dan River early on, and it gives the Wildcats the advantage back. Only by a point, though, with 7:35 to go here in this quarter.
Don't turn your radio or your internet browser away for 1 second in this one, Bob, because there's going to be a lot of big plays down the stretch here. Dan River leading by 1, 42-41. Still about a full fourth quarter to play here.
Altavista's only had 4 guys score tonight. Dan River's had 7, and 38 of those points have come from the Johnsons and Thornhill. Adams with it again. Let's see if he's feeling froggy. Not going to take that 3, but he's going to drive. Gets the shot up. Almost got it to go, but he's going to be going to the stripe. Fouls against Hubbard, and that is Richards' second.
Yeah, smart play by Adams. He just shot the 3, so you know that Altavista was very aware of that. This time he fakes the 3 and then drives to the basket, draws the foul.
Only 3 team fouls apiece here early on as Adams gets that first one to go down. And, you know, most of these guys from Dan River, and I say this in a full complimentary way, they haven't met many shots they don't like.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, what seems like a long shot to some people is, you know, a chip 3 for Dan River.
Never lacking confidence on the shooting end, that's for sure. Both free throws in by Adams.
44-41. Wildcats by 3. If you're the Colonels, obviously you want to score, but you can't let what happened happen earlier in terms of Dan River goes on a bit of a run, you go on a drought. Poindexter with the basketball. Eyeing Walker in the corner. Eric still looking for somewhere to go. Pulls it back out. Over to Demetrius Johnson. Now back to Poindexter. Altavista wants to make sure they get a good shot. They throw to Walker. Walker is going to be called for an offensive foul.
Got him with the elbow. He was looking to get a little bit of room for himself. The defense was guarding him very tightly. He didn't really have anywhere else he could go, and that's what Mike Carlero is saying. He's saying, hey, we have to have room to operate. It's our basketball.
It's Walker's third.
Yeah.
Team's fourth.
44-41, Dan River leads.
Edmonds with the rock. Now over to Bayshawn Jones. Jones lost it, picked up by Demetrius Johnson. Johnson's going to try to dribble all the way down. Johnson does just that. Gets the bucket.
Wow, they say it was on the floor. They say he got fouled on the floor before he could get the shot off. That's a tough break there for Altavista. They'll still get the basketball, though.
I'm not sure if the foul...
Now the officials want to talk it over.
It's either got to count or you can't have 2. The foul was either against Bayshawn Jones or Tyrone Adams. And if it's on Adams, it's 4.
Okay.
If it's on Jones, it's 2.
I think
see what happens.
Yeah, I think they're going to say he was not in the act of shooting. It's going to be on the floor.
Well,
one official may have called a travel now is what is this signal.
Very, very risky, in my opinion, for Demetrius to take that 1-on-4.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a high-risk, high-reward play. Demetrius got the steal, then he went the length of the court by himself. Now Demetrius is on the free throw line, so they're going to say he was in the act of shooting. I think you're going to count the bucket, and he's going to have a chance at the old...
I don't think the bucket's counting.
They're saying 2 shots. That's hard to believe, because if it was in the act of shooting, the shot went in. Strange things tonight, though, Bob, and would you expect anything else when these two teams get together?
You know, the thing is, I think Kenny Murphy's confused, too.
Yeah.
And I mean, when the other coach is confused of why a guy is shooting 2,
yeah,
that should be the least of, your worries. Just thankfully the basket didn't count for your end.
He misses the first one. Demetrius isn't happy with himself. He's got to bounce right back up there and try and make the second one. Definitely strange, though. I mean, he was in the act of shooting. The shot went in, so you would think that would have counted. Second free throw is in by Demetrius Johnson. So he makes one of two, makes it a 2-point lead for Dan River.
44-42, 6.5 to go in quarter four. And I stress quarter four. Edmonds with the basketball. Fires from deep. It's in. Wow. Actually, that was Adams. Tyrone Adams has come to play in quarter four. He's got everything Dan River's got in this frame, Kyle.
Yeah, he hit the first three-pointer for him. He hits the second three-pointer for him.
47-42. Thornhill in a world of trouble. Tapped out by Dan River. It's going to be Altavista basketball.
And now it's getting to the point where the crowd, starts spilling out on the court a little bit. It's exciting to watch. I don't know if it's exciting to coach. I think this is a gray hair game. You get a lot more after a game like this.
That's why you save it. Don't have to worry about it then. Thornhill with it. Less than 6 minutes to go. And, the thing there, Juan had to make a pass because Juan didn't really have anybody in the zip code, and he was double-teamed.
Yeah.
Walker over to Poindexter. Poindexter lost it, trying to pick it back up. Jump ball. Arrow is going to read Dan River. I love how all the kids from Dan River always point on every jump ball, hey, we got to get this one. We got to get this
it's
one.
It's like a fumble in football.
Right.
Tyrone Adams and Eric Poindexter getting tied up. Good sportsmanship by Adams to help Eric up after the play.
Adams with the ball. He's going to try again. He is hot. Very hot.
He's got 9 in this quarter, all from beyond the arc.
And then 2 more at the free throw line makes 11.
Yeah.
So he has been hot, and he forces Altavista's hand with the timeout. 50-42, Dan River, 5:36 to go in quarter four. We'll be right back on KD Country.
A short drive will save you money.
That's right. A short drive can save you hundreds, maybe thousands. The absolute best selection of new and pre-owned vehicles to choose from. Have a trade? When you make a deal, Feller Chevrolet will pay it off, no matter how much you owe. Slow credit? Don't worry. Drive away today in your new or pre-owned vehicle. Remember, if you didn't purchase your vehicle from Feller Chevrolet, you paid too much for it.
Feller Chevrolet in Altavista.
You're listening to award-winning coverage of the Altavista Colonels on 105.5 KD Country.
50-42. Dan River by 8 points with 5 minutes and 36 seconds to go in quarter four, Kyle. And things are getting a little chippy down here in Ringgold. And the Wildcats lead by 8. And one thing right now is Tyrone Adams. I mean, if we give players of the quarter so far, definitely. I mean, he's had a full fourth in just 2.5 minutes, Kyle.
Yeah, 11 points, all 11 points in the quarter for Dan River, and the big three-pointers from beyond the arc, 3 of them.
Poindexter with the basketball. Now goes over to Thornhill. Thornhill with the rock, looking for somewhere to go. Now over to McClure. Now Demetrius Johnson drives. Johnson all the way to the rack. Spins down. Boy, what a heartbreaker that would have been had that taken a bad roll.
That was big. Colonels needed some points there, and they got it. Demetrius Johnson driving along the baseline. Dan River's gone to a 2-3 zone, Bob, and that switched things up a lot.
Adams again. That one spins out. Thornhill with the board. And I sense Juan kind of wants to get into a, not takeover mode, but hey, let's put it on my shoulders a little bit. Gets it over to Walker. Walker passes down low to Johnson. Johnson catches. Johnson's going up. Johnson's fouled. And the bucket. Count it for 2. And Demetrius has one more.
No question on this one. This shot will count, and he was fouled in the act of shooting. He'll go to the the free throw line for the old-fashioned three-point play. And if he makes it, it's a 3-point ball game, Bob. 50-46 right now. 4:44 remaining in the Apple Market fourth quarter.
15 foul on the Wildcats. Didn't catch who it was on, but I bet whoever it's on's got more than one. Johnson misses. Brother Darius with the rebound. Johnson puts it on the floor. The ball shoveled out, and last touch off Altavista. 3 Dan River guys around it. And last touch was off Darius. He kind of, I don't want to say hiked it underneath, but that's kind of the way it went.
Yeah, didn't do it intentionally, just lost the handle. Give him a lot of credit for getting the offensive rebound, but he was just surrounded by Wildcats. He really couldn't do anything anyway.
Tell you what, a lot of these guys have had some battles early on this year with people. Adams goes down. Tyrone Adams just unconscious right now. Gets that one laid up, 52-46.
Still has all the points in the quarter for Dan River. He's been a one-man show in the fourth.
Making my player of the game choice a little easy. Demetrius Johnson drives from the baseline. Johnson looking for some help. Finds Thornhill. Juan. Nice pass to Darius. And Darius finger rolls it in 52-48.
What a look. A no-look, sort of over the shoulder, over the head pass to Darius Johnson. Juan Thornhill, you're right. I think he wants to take over, Bob.
I don't know what year kids take chemistry in at Altavista, but that was, you knew where he was.
Yeah.
Edmonds with the basketball. Edmonds passes down low. Josh Walker comes away with the loose change. Over to Poindexter. 3:40 to go. Colonels trail by 4. We're in the fourth. Pass down low to Darius Johnson. Johnson turns and spins and gets it to go in 52-50.
It was Eric Poindexter that time on the great feed. Altavista's got the momentum back even though they trailed by 2. Dan River wants a timeout.
3.5 to go in the exciting fourth quarter. We'll take a timeout and come back on KD Country.
Try a variety of daily lunch specials priced under $4 at El Cazador Restaurant. The people that brought the first Mexican food to the area 13 years ago and still going strong 7 days a week. Come by for Mexican or American food, all reasonably priced, with drink specials and great service too. Voted best Mexican restaurant by you, their customers, El Cazador Mexican Restaurant, Main Street in Altavista. El Cazador Mexican Restaurant thanks you for your loyalty and your business. You're listening to award-winning coverage of the Altavista Colonels on 105.5 KD Country.
I tell you, excitement personified here, Kyle. And, as good as Adams has been on the offense for Dan River, Altavista points in the paint have come aplenty in this quarter.
Especially lately, some great feeds to Darius Johnson. And Darius, when he gets around the basket, he's going to finish more often than he doesn't. 2-point lead for Dan River, 52-50. It's been Adams versus Altavista in the fourth quarter, Bob. Let's see if Dan River can find anybody else to score for him.
Yeah, and there was an Adams that did some big things for Altavista last year. His name was Rick, and he hit a lot of threes. Right now it's been an Adams haunting the Colonels here in quarter 4. If you're Kenny Murphy, real quick, what'd you say in that timeout?
I think he's saying, hey, let's just calm down. Let's try and break their momentum, have a good possession. And I probably at the end of it said, if you can get Adams the basketball again, then go for it.
Edmonds over to Bayshawn Jones. He's been hot, too. That ball squared out to Edmonds and going the other way.
Kenny Murphy certainly didn't say that in the timeout. Give Altavista's team defense a lot of credit there. On the floor, you got Demetrius and Darius Johnson, Eric Poindexter, Juan Thornhill, and Josh Walker.
We always joked about Coach Cruz taking the coat off early. Well, Kenny Murphy's got the sleeves rolled up and the tie is loose, too.
The shirt might be off soon.
Over to Thornhill. Senior night for Dan River. Altavista looking to spoil it, and Thornhill ties this one with the layup down the lane. Altavista has gotten so many points in the paint in this fourth quarter, and Dan River's defense has not been terrible at all.
No, Altavista is just attacking the basket. Adams for 3 again.
No good. And they're going to call Altavista, I think, over the back. It will be Walker.
Yep.
And if numbers are correct, that is 4.
Walker's a guy with size that I know Coach Carlero would like to have out there. With 4 fouls, it looks like he's going to even keep him out there. Basketball does go back to Dan River, though, on the missed shot.
3-pointer for the Wildcats. No good. It's going to be rebounded by Edmonds. Edmonds will pull it out. Adams. You've got to think he's looked to fire right there. Thornhill's guarding him right now, though, so the shots might be tougher. Adams loses it. Poindexter racing down. He's got Johnson on his left. Passes to Darius. Darius can't get it. Poindexter tries to go for the rebound.
Little bit of a missed opportunity there. Colonels could have pulled in front, but give Eric Poindexter a great job on the steal, and he did his best as could to get the points.
2:20 to go. Adams gives it up. Bayshawn Jones sticks it down low. Walker's done.
Yeah, he didn't like the call. Doesn't matter. That's probably 5 on Josh Walker. He's not happy. Somebody's going to have to come in for him. Looks like Jacob McClure headed to the scorer's table. Tie ball game, 52-50. Altavista, Dan River.
Walker, heart and soul tonight, put everything out there.
Yeah, played really well, particularly on the defensive end. He was a monster in the paint and outside.
And, I'm not saying offense doesn't count against Dan River, but you really got to control him. Adams falling backwards, puts up a shot, hits it off the window, and goes in. I think he could throw it out from Altavista right now and maybe make it. McClure catches the inbounds. McClure lost it, stolen away. Edmonds lays it up and in. That's Terrell Edmonds.
Yep, now all of a sudden it's a 4-point lead for Dan River. Somebody else has scored other than Tyrone Adams finally.
Less than 2 minutes to go. Demetrius Johnson catches it underneath. He's fouled, and he's going to go up for 2.
Good job running the fast break by brother Darius. He passes off to Demetrius Johnson. And Demetrius will head back to the foul line.
But how about the shot Adams made before, though?
Yeah,
I mean, he was
the fall away off the bank. Yeah.
I mean, you don't even get that in a horse.
No. Altavista hadn't been to the foul line a whole lot in this second half, Bob. 3 times in the third quarter. This is their 5th time in the fourth quarter. And Demetrius Johnson has been the only guy to go to the foul line in this fourth quarter.
That one will rattle out. Plenty of time, though. 1:45 to go. Both teams will be in the bonus on their next foul, and it'll be 1-1.
Plenty of time, but it's not a boatload of time. Colonels have got to be careful here.
Right.
You don't want to go down more than 4 or 5 with less than 2 minutes to go.
Second free throw up. That one's going to roll out, too. Rebounded by Dan River. Edmonds with it. Now over to Adams.
Colonels need to stop in the worst way.
And you don't need to rush if you're the Wildcats, and we've seen them play stall ball a little bit here and there tonight. Adams drives all the way, lays it up. It'll fall down. 58-52. Poindexter with the basketball. Gets in the front court. Poindexter going all the way, and the foul is going to be against Adams. And it'll be 1-1 for Altavista. And that's 5, I think, on Adams.
Might be.
Wow.
Yeah. Not the guy you wanted to lose, but if you're Coach Kenny Murphy, you can't blame him. I mean, you have to leave him out there. He's shooting the lights out. Fantastic game for Tyrone Adams. He left his heart and soul out there. He gets a high five from Juan Thornhill on his way out, just as a testament to how good he played. I think Juan's happy he's not going to be on the court anymore. Great applause here from the crowd, Dan River, and now Adams trying to get the crowd fired up. Eric Poindexter waiting to shoot his 1-and-1.
58-52.
What a ball game.
I'll tell you, we don't even really need to speak that much. The crowd's doing it for us. Now they're getting into it. I got on the crowd a little bit earlier saying they weren't that loud, but they're making up for it now. Altavista misses. Rebound is last touch off Altavista. 3 straight from the free throw line missed.
Yeah, I think it's actually 4 straight, Bob.
Because Demetrius went 1 out of 2 early.
Yep.
58-52.
Colonels need another stop really badly here. They have to get one almost at this point.
And now you pretty much almost got a foul, too. You got to start thinking about it.
Think about it. You're right. Down to 1 minute and 10 seconds.
Thornhill will be the one to commit the foul. That's 4-on-1.
Yeah, probably a good foul because he tried to swipe at the ball from the backside when the offensive guy got past him.
Hubbard and McClure are going to enter. This might be a little offense-defense type.
I think so. You bring in your 2 3-point shooters
to come out.
And you've also got to really think about, hey, what guys can I send in there that don't have 3 or 4 fouls as well?
Thornhill has 4. Josh Walker's gone. McClure's got 3. Everybody else has got 2 or less.
Wow.
First one's banked in.
Banked it in. Not something you draw up, but it goes in for D. McMorrow.
Extra hours at the vault for McMorrow, 59-52. If you're Altavista, you probably got to start thinking 3-ball at some point, or at least how to get the clock stopped and get to the basket. McMorrow front irons that one, but got his own rebound. That's not what you wanted
for Altavista. Yep.
Because McMorrow had nobody with him on that line from Dan River. McClure will pick up the foul, his 4th.
That might really spell disaster for the Colonels. Let's see if
that's the 8th or 9th.
8th. Let's see if Bayshawn Jones can catch in from the free throw line first. May not end up mattering for the Colonels other than just running off some time. He makes it.
60-52.
7-point game now. 8-point game. I'm sorry. Good math. 1:02 remaining.
I think if you're Dan River, you just want to keep making shots. That's your math. 61-52.
Now it's a 9-point game. Probably got to either get to the basket quick or shoot a 3-pointer quick.
Thornhill goes underneath Darius Johnson, and Johnson gets 2. And a timeout by Mike Cardellaro. We'll keep it here. 61-54. Altavista's down 7 with 53.7 to go. William Campbell beat Nelson County tonight 70-61. So Nelson County will come in tomorrow night trying to bounce back against Altavista as well. The Lady Colonels won 59-26. Still some time left in this one, though. 53.7 seconds. Altavista is down 7. If you're Dan River, obviously, main thing is get the ball in, don't turn it over.
Absolutely. Make Altavista have to foul you. If you're Altavista, I think you got to gamble on the steal on the inbounds. And if you don't get the steal, I think you probably have to commit the foul then. Maybe you can try and play defense and get a 10-second call.
I think the clock's got to be fixed, by the way, because right now it's reading 5:49.
The Colonels would love to be that lucky to have 5 minutes left. No, they've got less than a minute.
I think it should be 54.9 unless they're trying to take it down.
Yeah, there it goes. You're right, 54.9 seconds. Now, if you're Altavista, I don't even know if you have the luxury to wait 10 seconds.
Right. I was just getting ready to say, you know what a fan of I am of making them work in the backcourt. I think you can make them maybe make a second pass, but not much more than that.
Sure. And watch the long ball if you're Altavista, too.
And when I count the second pass, I'm counting the first one going inbounds.
Yeah.
Thornhill was guarding the inbounder. Now he's off the ball. Now he's back on it. McClure's the only one that's got 4 out there aside from Juan. Everybody else, 2 or less.
Colonels trail by 7. Not a lot of time left.
Foul. Darius Johnson is going to send Tremaine Edmonds, to the stripe. I told you need a scorecard if you do. And that's only Darius's first, according to my numbers.
That's impressive. They only have 1 foul at this point.
And Demetrius doesn't have any either.
Not the worst thing in the world right there, though, Bob. You foul Dan River before they get it in. Clock never starts, so you don't run off any time. Need Dan River to miss the free throws, though.
Especially the first one. They didn't. Tremaine Edmonds sinks that first one at 62-54.
Dan River has been a lot better from the free throw stripe in this second game, Bob, than they were the first time in Altavista.
Second shot's going to go down as well. 63-54. Thornhill with the basketball. Thornhill over to Hubbard, now to Demetrius Johnson. Johnson drives all the way in. Johnson puts it up. It'll rattle home. Timeout. 63-56. We'll take 30 of this one real quick. 40.2 seconds to go. 63-56 on 105.5 KD Country.
English Construction Company has been in the building business since 1932, so it's only natural that they appreciate the building process. They recognize the fact that organized sports programs build character as well as bodies and minds. They know that high school sports build our youth into more well-rounded and more productive adults. English Construction Company is proud to be a sponsor of high school sports and salute all athletes, coaches, and teachers. A word of praise and encouragement from English Construction Company with offices in Lynchburg, Virginia.
You're listening to award-winning coverage of the Altavista Colonels on 105.5 KD Country.
Colonels down 7 with 40.2 seconds. I don't think you can be but so choosy right here as to who you want to foul.
No, and Dan River's been knocking them all down lately, so it may not even matter who you foul. If the Altavista Colonels, you just don't want a lot of time to run off the clock. They trail by 9.
63-56. Dan River's got to get the ball in first, and they get it in to Bayshawn Jones, and Jones is going to be fouled by McClure, and that should be 5 on Mr. McClure.
Yeah,
38 seconds to go.
Nothing Jacob McClure could really do right there. He was the guy that had to commit the foul.
That's 10 against the Colonels, too, so now everything is 2.
Yeah, that makes it even worse. Gets even tougher if you're Altavista because as the fans exit the building, they a lot of times have to walk on the court to leave. So when you're the Colonels, you come down on offense, you don't have as much room to operate because you got these extra people walking around.
We talked about it. It's not a problem at Gretna because Altavista is kind of on the good side of that, per se, to where they're not walking in front of the crowd. But at Chatham and at Dan River, it's an event in itself. Jones misses the first. Everybody got in for the rebound.
Yeah, he's got one more.
And I don't think Altavista's got many timeouts left at all now. Second one up by Bayshawn goes down, 64-56. I'll tell you what, give Altavista credit, but give Tyrone Adams some big-time credit from Dan River. Fourth quarter, he turned it on. Thornhill misses the dunk. And that'll be 5 on Juan.
Yeah, he commits the foul afterwards there, trying to get the basketball back.
Oh, it's not on Juan, actually.
Crowd really, crowd really into it now. And this is a big win for Dan River. You had to imagine the crowd was going to be a factor. I think they were tonight. Edmonds on the foul line can stretch it out to a 10-point game if he makes them both.
Dan River got the first 5 off Adams' hot hand real quick.
Yeah.
And, you know, right there, I mean, that just kind of symbolized the evening with the missed dunk in the fourth quarter at least. Not that Altavista's played bad, but Dan River just really turned it on.
Big fourth quarter for Dan River. I mean, Altavista had the third quarter. Dan River had the fourth quarter in a big way.
65-56. Thornhill will fire from deep. Three-pointer off the glass, no good. Rebounded by Dan River. And that should be it. Mike Carlero doesn't want to foul. Dan River is going to go down that way and lay it up and in with Tyquan Adams. 67-56, and that should do it. Darius Johnson comes down, lays it up. It'll go in. It'll count, and that'll do it. So 67-58 is what the board will read for the final. We'll come back and do some post-game activities here. Dan River knocks off Altavista 67-58 on KD Country.
Check out these new in-store specials at your local Apple Market. Energize with 2 12-ounce Red Bulls for just $5. Or grab an extra large bag of Doritos for just $3.49 and a 24-pack of Coke only $6.99. Or enjoy a tasty chicken tender sandwich for just $2.49 at Riverside or Main Street in the Gretna Apple Market locations. Visit the Apple Market's convenience stores soon.
Installing Atrium vinyl replacement windows is like an investment in your home that can begin to pay dividends right away. You can save up to 30% or more on your home's heating and cooling costs. Add to your home's equity and add to its value by upgrading its looks and energy efficiency. Custom crafted Atrium vinyl replacement windows. Invest in your home's future with English's.
English's is your complete home center.
Business 29, Altavista.
You're listening to award-winning coverage of the Altavista Colonels on 105.5 KD Country.
Big fourth quarter by Dan River. Altavista up 41-39 after the third. Dan River scores 28 points in the fourth quarter. Kyle, I would be willing to bet you almost anything you want that that's the most points the Colonels have given up in a frame this season.
Yeah, that's a huge number for Dan River, and they got, they got 11 of them in the blink of an eye from Tyrone Adams. I mean, he was just unconscious, like you said there for a while. He could do no wrong shooting the basketball. Tough to stop when a guy gets a hot hand like that. And the entire Dan River team, Bob, very good on the foul line down the stretch. That's been their nemesis sometimes. Not tonight. They were good from the free throw line, especially down the stretch. I have them making 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 8 of 10 there late in the fourth quarter. That's huge, and that's what you have to do when you have a lead and the other team's trying to foul. You got to knock down the free throws. 80% was good enough.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And, the thing about it that I like, I'm going to spin this for Altavista to where I see a positive is you don't sit on this for that long. If you got Nelson County coming in tomorrow night, you can get the bad taste out of your mouth almost as soon as possible. And that's the thing I like in terms of the Altavista side of it.
Yeah, Altavista's got senior night tomorrow night in Altavista. Nelson County coming to town. We hope you'll join us on the radio or at kdcountry.com. We'll be there. Subway pregame show around the usual time, 6:45. And you're right, you get back on the bike and ride. That helps if you're Altavista. The other thing that helps if you're Altavista is that, hey, if we win tomorrow, we still have a chance. Or if they win tomorrow, they've secured themselves a tie of the district title, and they'll have to have a district playoff game, a regular season playoff. That would be at Gretna, we're told, and it would be a week from tonight, Friday.
Well, and don't count out, Dan River, because they still got to beat Gretna.
Dan River has to, both teams still have to win. Altavista has to beat Nelson, and Dan River has to beat Gretna. I guess technically if Altavista and Dan River lost, then they'd still be tied then, but situation is right now, both teams have one district loss. First loss on the year for the Colonels here tonight. Sometimes that first one is a big one, Bob. You know that. I think this Colonel team, they've got enough youth and exuberance that it's not going to slow them down. They're going to bounce right back up and continue on the winning ways.
We'll take a break, come back with more here on the Subway postgame show. Dan River gets the best of Altavista, 67-58 on KD Country.
Todd Hall, president of First National Bank. For over 100 years, we have proudly served our customers in Central Virginia, and we're excited about continuing to provide financial solutions into the future. At First National Bank, our focus is on you, the customer, and delivering a very high level of service is our top priority. In fact, our employees are empowered to make decisions that provide you an extraordinary customer experience. So stop in one of our 8 local branches and give us a try. First National Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
In the past century, our community has grown, and Finch & Finch Funeral and Cremation Service has grown too, alongside the families they've known for so long. Finch & Finch is proud to have served you over 100 years. A family business, Finch & Finch Funeral and Cremation Service, dedicated to your service.
Finch & Finch Funeral Homes. We're here because we care.
Try a variety of daily lunch specials priced under $4 at El Cazador Restaurant. The people that brought the first Mexican food to the area 13 years ago and still going strong 7 days a week. Come by for Mexican or American food, all reasonably priced, with drink specials and great service too. Voted best Mexican restaurant by you, their customers, El Cazador Mexican Restaurant, Main Street in Altavista. El Cazador Mexican Restaurant thanks you for your loyalty and your business.
A short drive will save you money.
That's right. A short drive can save you hundreds, maybe thousands. The absolute best selection of new and pre-owned vehicles to choose from. Have a trade? When you make a deal, Feller Chevrolet will pay it off, no matter how much you owe. Slow credit? Don't worry. Drive away today in your new or pre-owned vehicle. Remember, if you didn't purchase your vehicle from Feller Chevrolet, you paid too much for it.
Feller Chevrolet in Altavista.
You're listening to award-winning coverage of the Altavista Colonels on 105.5 KD Country.
Altavista has something happen to them that hadn't happened this year yet. Kyle lost tonight to the Dan River Wildcats. Always a tough place to come play. We talk about that, and that's no smokescreen. I mean, it really is not easy to come down to Ringgold. I mean, I'm sure if we took a look at probably the last 5-6 years, Dan River's home record is probably very, very good.
Yeah, they tend to keep a clean sheet at home. This is a very tough place to play. Altavista takes their first loss of the year. Record goes to 15-1. 10-1 in the Dogwood District. And as you would say, the right side of the ledger on the one-loss column is not unblemished anymore. But don't let that fool you. Still a very good Altavista Colonel basketball team. As I said, they're going to get back on the horse and ride. They still have a chance to win the Dogwood District title if they can take care of business tomorrow night against Nelson County. Then a playoff game would be set up for next Friday against this same Dan River Wildcat team.
Well, I'm always a big fan of dissecting things except live animals. Didn't like that in biology. But, Kyle, your opinion, such thing as a good loss?
Well, yeah, I think sometimes you can have a loss that helps you stay focused and keeps you hungry. Maybe your practices, guys aren't getting after as much as they were in the beginning of the year, and sometimes a loss can motivate you a little bit. I don't know if that falls into this category or not here tonight, Bob. I know the Colonels really took pride in the undefeated mark. They didn't want to give up the undefeated record. But that being said, I don't think this is going to slow them down a whole lot. You know, if you remember, you think back to the state championship team back in 2004. They had 3 losses, all 3 of them to Gretna, as a matter of fact. And they went on to win a state championship. So it's not that a loss ends your season. It's probably more so how you deal with the loss and how you react to it.
Yeah, and I think, if I'm Mike Cardallero, obviously you don't want to lose, especially Coach Cardallero. I don't think he probably let A.J. win in Candyland when A.J. was 6 or Ashley, have more tea in her cup at the tea party or anything. Mike Cardallero does not like to lose. Nobody does. But I think you got to kind of be anxious of how do we bounce back tomorrow.
That's exactly right. I think tomorrow's an important game, and I think the players know that. I mean, they have to win tomorrow, you would think, to secure a spot in that district playoff game. So that's big. And, you always want to hold serve at home. You always want to win your senior night, so you got those 2 things working in your favor. And you always want to bounce back from a loss in good shape. So you got the bounce back effect in there as well. I think the Colonels come out looking good tomorrow night. Again, Subway pregame show starts around 6:45. We'll be there. Subway's always there. This is the Subway postgame show. Subway Eat Fresh, 2 great locations in Altavista, Main Street and in the Walmart on the Clarion Road in Altavista.
Well, and the thing, too, is Randolph Henry's off the board now. I mean, you don't have that game next Wednesday because if there is a playoff, Altavista said there was not going to be a game against Randolph Henry, and rightfully so. Totaling up the numbers here real quick, Kyle. Coach Ward wanted me to send along a happy birthday wish to his father. I did it in the pregame, and I'll do it again now. So happy birthday, Mr. Ward out there. Your son is a very intelligent man. I think he probably took that from the parents, as most children do.
Yeah, Coach Ward's old man taught him everything Chad knows, but he didn't teach him everything he knows. I kind of muddied that up a little bit.
That's okay.
But,
that's okay.
Anyway.
Altavista, I think one thing that you could throw up in the concern column is only 4 guys scored tonight, and Richard Hubbard had 3. So if you look at the others, we're looking at 55 points coming from 3 guys.
Yeah, it's impressive, but you're right. It also maybe is a little bit of cause for concern. Again, as a coach, I don't think you worry about it when the game's going on. Maybe after the fact, when you look at the stat sheet, you say, boy, we need to get some more guys involved so we're not one-dimensional. But, again, nothing you can really do about it.
And, I mean, again, it's not like you lost to a bad team. I mean, this was, I don't want to say it wasn't an upset, but, I mean, you didn't lose to, a 2-20 team or anything. Dan River has advertised, and I think they're probably in for another extended run.
Yeah, Altavista won the first game in A-Town in a toss-up game, 2-point game. This one, the margin's a little bit wider. Dan River wins, but I would argue it still could have gone either way. Altavista was leading to go into that 4th quarter. This one was anybody's game all the way through except for the last, minute or so.
28 big points in the 4th quarter for Dan River. It's got to be the most anybody has scored this year on Altavista in any quarter, especially the 4th. Final numbers. Let's start with the Wildcats. Tyrone Adams had 19 points. He had 2 heading into the 4th quarter. 17 big ones in quarter 4. Bayshawn Jones had 17, 8 apiece from D. McMorrow and Tyquan Adams and Terrell Edmonds. 5 points from Tremaine Edmonds and 2 points from Rayshawn Myers. Altavista led by Darius Johnson tonight. 29 led everybody in this one. 14 from brother Demetrius. 12 from Juan Thornhill. 3 from Richard Hubbard. That will bring us to the exciting time that most everybody loves, including Nick Bailey at home base, because it means he's getting ready to go home. Players of the game time. I'll start. Dan River, I think it's probably fairly obvious. I mean, Bayshawn Jones had a good game, but he didn't do Tyrone Adams. I mean, he didn't do 17 in the 4th quarter, and Adams was just hot. I mean, I think he could have thrown one behind his back off the ceiling. It would have probably, if they'd let it count, it would have gone in probably. So,
yeah,
Tyrone Adams is my guy.
I got to second that emotion. I mean, the 4th quarter was where Dan River pulled away. Adams was the big reason they did pull away, so you got to give it to him. No disrespect to anybody else for Dan River. Seemed like all the Wildcats played good, but when you catch the hot hand like that, player of the game seems to be an afterthought.
On the other side, I've got to go with Darius Johnson. I mean, Thornhill, I love Juan. I mean, no question about it. And he had 12 tonight and did a lot of other things that might have went unnoticed. I thought Demetrius played well also. And I thought a lot of guys that didn't get their name in the book scoring-wise. I thought Josh Walker defensively really hung in there with them. I thought a lot of guys played good for Altavista, but Darius Johnson was just a beast and a monster and any other adjective you want to use. I mean, he was a terror down low. Defensively, offensively, I thought he created a lot of problems. Darius Johnson's my guy.
Yeah, as much as I hate to agree with you, I'm going to have to do it twice tonight. It's hard to deny Darius Johnson that award tonight. I mean, he came out in the 1st quarter and was blocking shots left and right. I didn't know if Dan River was going to score at some point because Darius was swatting everything away. And then you throw the points on top of that as well. Definitely a good night. And like you said, big props to everybody else, Thornhill included. Altavista's a great team. They're going to bounce back. Dan River's got a great team as well. They're going to keep their ball rolling, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. They got Gretna next week. That game at Gretna or at Dan River, are you sure?
That's a question that I can't answer.
Julia Woodward, definitely big thank you. Not that I don't consider the principals ahead, but we deal with the athletic directors more. So I'll say Julia Woodward and her administration here tonight. Of course, Daryl Wilkerson in central office. And I contend this place goes down like a Jenga with out Officer Crump.
Absolutely. Great staff working down here at Dan River. Hard to keep all this big crowd in check, but they did just that tonight. Fun one here. We would not have been here without our sponsors, First National Bank, focused on providing an extraordinary customer experience. Apple Markets. Check out the weekly specials at all 3 area locations. Finch & Finch Funeral and Cremation Services, a family serving families since 1905. English Construction Company, wishing our high school athletes an exciting and injury-free game. Feller Chevrolet, where a short drive will save you money. El Cazador Mexican Restaurant, voted best Mexican restaurant by their customers. And English's, your complete home center. See them for Atrium Vinyl Windows. If you ever listen to us at kdcountry.com, you can thank Walmart on the Clarion Road in Altavista. Save money, live better. Walmart. This is the Subway postgame show. Subway, eat fresh.
For Kyle Hoehne, for Mike Cardellaro, and everyone else involved in this one, including Nick Bailey back at home base, this has been Bob Alvis. 67-58, Altavista on the short end tonight. They will try to bounce back tomorrow against the Governors of Nelson County. Tune in to 105.5 KD Country at all times. And thank you very much, and have a great night, everyone.